Job description. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get $75 towards your first sponsored job. Terms and conditions apply.
Want to find out what handheld perfection tastes like? Just stop by Lee's Famous Recipe Chicken today for a flawless family feast with the 12-piece strips meal at a great price. Get 12 premium tenderloins that are freshly marinated, honey-dipped, hand-breaded, and cooked to crispy perfection, along with 3 large sides, 6 fluffy biscuits, and 4 of your favorite Lee sauces. This is dippable chicken done right. Get the best in boneless chicken with the 12-piece strips meal at a great price. Only at Lee's, famous for chicken.
There are many ways to catch the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash on 1410 ESPN Radio, weekdays from 3 to 6 p.m. You can catch it live right here on 1410 Wing AM, or you can stream the show at wingam.com. But now we have another way that you can take in the show. You can now watch the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash live on ESPN Dayton's Facebook page. Listen, stream, watch. It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, weekdays from 3 to 6 p.m. on 1410 ESPN Radio.
All right, we welcome you in. It's the Justin
Kinner Show with Kev Nash live here on Dayton's ESPN radio station, 1410 Wing AM. Happy Thursday. Hope everyone's had a great day and is having a great week, of course. Selection Sunday coming up, not too far off in the distance. Again, just a few days away. Pretty jacked about that, Kev, because finally, we're going to find out after just a couple days removed from Wright State punching their tickets to the big dance. We'll find out where they are going to be heading, or maybe they're not heading anywhere. Maybe they're just going to be heading about, 13 miles away, not 13 miles, 8 miles or whatever it is that separates Wright State Center and UD Arena. So how about that? But again, yeah, excited to be with all of you again. I think I got that echo figured out. So there's that. But so I love conference tournament time because there's basketball on all throughout the day. It reminds me back to the non-conference time of the season, when there's all those invitationals going on around the holidays, and we'll have basketball in here in the building or whatnot. But yeah, you were watching, you're a big Syracuse fan. I could tell something was wrong because I could hear you hollering from the other room, and you got real quiet. I'm like, I was going, he must not be watching the game. And then I saw the score. I'm like, it makes sense. It makes sense.
Yeah, man, it was a great first half for my Cuse. They were up, I want to say, by 4 at the half. Duke comes back. Syracuse comes back. Eventually, Duke ends up winning by 8 points. So season over for my Syracuse Orange. It's all good, man. It's all good. Buddy Boeheim didn't play because he decided to sock somebody in the stomach yesterday and everything like that. So he's the ACC leading scorer, so that doesn't help. So, it is what it is.
518-1410, 518-1410. That's the number to call in and jump in on the conversation. We're also live on Facebook. We're live on Twitter. Head to Twitter, search ESPN Dayton. Follow along. That's where you can watch the show there. ESPN Dayton's YouTube channel. Like, subscribe, follow along. And then, of course, the Justin Kinner Show on Facebook. I'm Justin Kinner. He's Kev Nash, taking your calls, reaction on social media, reaction on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, etc. So although NFL free agency, we're not technically there yet, it's basically building up to it, though. A lot of names being cut, although, there's some trades kind of going down. Right now, this is kind of the preparation for free agency. After the combine, and teams are kind of getting more locked in as far as a draft direction that they want to go in. They have an idea of what, where they want to target. The free agent, I've always thought this too, Kev. Do you like free agency before the draft, or would free agency after the draft be better? I don't know which one is better. For me, I kind of would prefer to have the draft right now.
Really?
Have the draft now, or is it better to have it after free agency? I'm not sure. I'm not sure what is the better fit, and I'm curious what teams find to be more effective.
I always thought free agency was before the draft because obviously you can cut players and get under the cap because you need to be under the cap to pay your pay your rookies coming in and everything like that. So I think free agency plays better before the draft because not only that, you got it set up right now because you have a gap between entertainment. The NFL, they want to have an event basically every single month. Obviously, the season runs all the way until February. Then March, we got the combine. April, we got the draft. And then May is basically the only month they don't have anything. And then you got your OTAs in June. And then you got full-fledged minicamp in July. And then, boom, season's back up and jumping. But I think I like free agency right about now because these are known commodities. Everybody we talking about in the draft, everybody that watches the NFL don't watch college football. So we're still learning about these guys that's coming in to the NFL and everything like that. People want known commodities on their team right now. And there's a lot of free agents out there that can make your team a lot better real quick. And guys getting cut, like that's a segment all onto itself. I mean, Bobby Wagner just got cut. You know what I'm saying? So Seattle is completely out of anybody that was on that Super Bowl roster. So any team out there that needs a middle linebacker, I know my team, the Steelers, need a middle linebacker. Rams want to upgrade that middle linebacker. Bobby Wagner's out there to be had, you know what I'm saying, to the highest bidder. So this is exciting, man. And then obviously all the trades that's going down with the quarterbacks. I remember last year, that's when they said all this quarterback movement was going to happen. Now it's happening this year. So, I mean, we got Carson Wentz to the Commanders. We got so much action going on. There's a lot of rumors about Matty Ice potentially being on the move. I love it.
And that's what is, like, regardless of the timing of which one happens first, whatever timeline you want to look at, both very effective. The reason I said kind of like the draft to be first is because you may think, well, we're going to cut this guy and we'll address this position come draft time. And then the guys you wanted could potentially be taken off the board. But it's no different than free agency. You could be targeting a key offensive lineman, a key wide receiver. Someone else can swoop in. I mean, how many teams would have loved to have Russell Wilson's services, that would have loved to be able to, basically give up a lot of draft capital to acquire Russell Wilson? His no trade clause, of course, came in pretty hefty as far as that's concerned. But I did want to take a look at this because ESPN released a list of the top free agent moves that each team should make. And it's interesting taking a look at some of the suggestions that have been made for teams like the Ravens, your Steelers, Browns, Bengals, and more. But here's the perfect free agent matches for all 32 NFL teams. Why they fit. One player each team must sign, including Allen Robinson to the Browns. So very interesting that it's, we'll start with the Arizona Cardinals. They have quite a few needs. They can upgrade or add for a draft or sign for depth, of course. But cornerback Carlton Davis. The expectation was that the cornerback was that would be a glaring weakness for Arizona entering this past season, but the team actually got a solid performance from Robert Alford, and they're adding Carlton Davis. That's just going to take something that was a weakness heading into last season. They thought heading into this offseason, now that could be a big strength for the Cardinals. Not just going up against teams in the NFC, but obviously the AFC as well come Super Bowl time if they're able to get there, because my God, look at the damn quarterbacks in the AFC as far as that goes. But yeah, Carlton Davis, cornerback. Your team could always use more cornerbacks. Right. The Browns, the Bengals, everybody, but the Cardinals coming in for Carlton Davis's services.
That's big. I mean, if he actually ends up there, that's a big move for them, shoring up another cornerback spot. I mean, him and C.J. Jackson are the number one corners on the free agent market. So you come away with 1A or 1B, you're winning.
Absolutely. Continuing to go down the list. This is a big one. Former wide receiver for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Where do you think, not which team is a good fit for, not where you think he would be most impactful, but which team would be good for him, if that makes sense? Basically takes care of both.
Who are we talking about?
Juju? Juju Smith-Schuster. Yeah, I didn't even finish that. My fault.
No, you good. Buffalo
would not be bad, especially because they're really good, obviously,
because they're going to let Cole Beasley walk.
Yeah.
So he can be in that slot spot for them.
The Falcons is who they have right here. Remember, they lost Julio.
Julio, Calvin Ridley suspended. Okay.
So a need that was like, you could always use more playmakers, but it really wasn't at the top of their priority list. I just feel like Atlanta's closer to a rebuild than being in a position like if I'm the Falcons, I wouldn't sign Juju Smith-Schuster. In fact, you've already lost. You traded away Julio Jones. You no longer have Calvin Ridley for this season. They were already rumored to trade him to begin with. Matt Ryan, you're close to moving on from him, or at least just letting that contract die out. I don't understand the purpose of Atlanta signing Juju Smith-Schuster at all. And if you're Juju Smith-Schuster, who was very precise about where he ended up last year as far as picking the spots that were best for him from a stat standpoint to put him in position to make money, unless Atlanta's willing to give him big dollars, I don't see Atlanta being a good fit for Juju at all, as far as I'm concerned.
Shoot, if Atlanta is playing any way they've played over the last couple of years, where their offense is always on the field because their defense is so garbage, then maybe that's a spot for him. If you're trying to rack up some numbers and do like a 1-year deal and then try to cash out the year after it, putting up some big numbers, maybe that's a thought process.
Real quick, I know we had talked about, do you like free agency before the draft or the draft before free agency? David M. on YouTube says, I think I'd prefer the draft before free agency to see what needs your team can fill at a cheaper cost. Then you can give it more direct focus the needs missed in the draft. That's kind of was my thinking too. Like, I need wide receivers. The Browns, they have all this cap space now that they've restructured some things. You need wide receivers. Okay, super. Go there. Your goal is to get a Garrett Wilson. Your goal is to get Burks. Your goal is to get whoever.
Right.
Who's the kid from USC?
London.
London. Okay. The guy you really wanted is not there now, but you didn't go after free agent wide receivers because you were confident you were going to get that one guy you really wanted. Then someone swooped up, take him before you can, and now you're really out of options. I like the draft route before. I like the draft before. Target those needs with the draft. See if you can get really impactful guys. If you end up getting a guy you really like, now you don't have to invest as much in free agency. Or if you whiffed on a pick or did not get the intended target, now you could be more aggressive in free agency. Either way, I don't think either is wrong. I could see pros and cons to both, but obviously the league and the union, they've agreed on this, and they feel like this is the best way to go about doing it.
And I think the veteran players want the free agency to come first because that means they get paid first. You know what I mean? But
some teams kind of hold off a little bit too. Like they don't dive into the deep end of free agency. They would rather fill their needs with cheap draft picks as opposed to paying. And that's probably why the union is not for that.
Right.
Because no, you address your needs with us, the players, pay us, and then fill your holes with the draft after. I don't think it's wrong or right either way. I can see the pros and cons to both sides, but nonetheless. All right, continue to go down the list. Thank you for chiming in on that. So the Cincinnati Bengals come up here. Now, we know offensive line today.
Right.
A lot of big names out there as far as available offensive linemen that the Bengals could target. They have a ton of cap space. They had the most cap space of any team that made the playoffs this past year. Now, some other teams have kind of adjusted their rosters or made some cuts to open up some cap space as far as that goes. But the Bengals, according to this article on ESPN.com, that the number one target in free agency for each team, how about Austin Corbett, guard? Look, this article talks about how there's no misconception about what the Bengals need to do this offseason. The Bengals should look to revamp its offensive line, likely through the draft and free agency, so that Joe Burrow doesn't take another 70 sacks. Now, they go on to talk about the right guard position. It says that right guard has been the biggest problem area on the Bengals' offensive line in recent years. No team has earned a lower PFF grade at that position than the Bengals since 2020. Corbett could help solidify that position after ranking 8th out of 41 qualifying right guards, according to Pro Football Focus grades from the last 2 seasons. Thoughts on Austin Corbett being the number one target the Bengals should look at come free agency?
Should be the number one target for the Bengals, should be the number one target for the Pittsburgh Steelers, should be the number one target for anybody out there who allows so much pressure to their quarterbacks, and especially for the Pittsburgh Steelers who allow a ton of pressure for their quarterbacks and can't open up run lanes for their first round draft pick. Anybody out there, guard, tackle, they should be after. They should be spending big bucks on either of them. And I got a question for you. Is this strictly free agents, or is this guys that they foresee being cut? Because there's always guys that there's speculation about them being cut. Because technically, Bobby Wagner wasn't a free agent this year. He's a free agent because they cut him.
This just says free agency.
Okay.
Yeah, I was reading that as you were asking. It just says free agency. That's a good point, Bobby Wagner. This article has come out after that.
Right.
That would include that. And I haven't seen him pop up on this list, but I'll continue scrolling through. So the Bengals, according to this, let me see who wrote this for one, so I can make sure I'm Ben Lindsley, contributing writer for ESPN, and ESPN's ESPN Plus team putting together the perfect free agent matches for all 32 NFL teams, why they fit and why each must sign. So, as we talked about with the Cincinnati Bengals, Austin Corbett. And again, I see some people like, oh, no, that they need to go after Jensen. They need to go after 70 sacks. You got to go after everybody.
Yes.
Like if they went after Jensen, I'd be like, okay, now you got to go after Corbett. You got to go after somebody. You can't just get one guy. You can't add Riley Reef and then be done like last offseason. Like you got to add multiple guys.
How many starters do you think they need to sign in free agency?
As many as you can. I know that's a lazy answer, mainly because everyone keeps saying, well, only outside of Jonah Williams, every position's up for grabs. I'm sorry, Jonah Williams, you were also part of that offensive line that gave up 70 sacks. If you can upgrade at every one of those positions, you do it. I don't care if there's more of a need at left guard, right guard, what have you. Figure it out. I just think that there's not one guy on that offensive line that's safe. No one's earned that right. I could see why Jonah Williams you want to be a little married to because he has shown the most progress as far as all the others. But if you're saying he's shown the most progress compared to the other horrible linemen, that's not really a standard that I think that the Bengals need to hold him to. They need legitimate dudes. You have a kick-ass quarterback in Joe Burrow. You can't gamble anymore and say, well, we really have our guy in Joe Burrow and we're really counting on Jonah Williams to take that next step. Well, you need to count on your quarterback to be able to take a step. And the bottom line is the fact that you gambled with him this year and still got rewarded for it by going to the Super Bowl, that's horrible. Good for them to get into the Super Bowl, but I just thought that every time Joe Burrow dropped back, they were gambling with his future. And I thought that was wrong. So to answer your question, nobody's untouchable. I think they should be looking to upgrade every one of them. Doesn't mean you move on from them.
Mm-hmm.
I think some of those guys would be good just to kind of rotate in and out just for depth purposes. But I don't think outside of Jonah Williams, like most say, nobody's bulletproof on that line.
Bring back Riley Reef?
I think so. How does that work? It was a one-year deal.
It was a
with
one-year
an option.
deal. Yeah.
Right? Was it an option that they pick up or he?
Let's find out.
Either way. But yeah, Riley Reef was not bad, by the way. When he was healthy, he was solid. I kind of nitpicked that last year. It wasn't who they picked. It was the fact that they only made one addition. And I don't want to hear about Jackson Carman or anything like that. No, like I like the Riley Reef addition, but like Riley Reef with another guy, adding 2 or 3 would have been ideal, but they have a chance to do that. The Cleveland Browns are up next. Next season, according to this article, will go a long way toward determining Cleveland's future outlook, with a lot of focus placed squarely on quarterback Baker Mayfield and the passing offense. Already, with Calvin Ridley being suspended for the year, Mike Williams re-signing with the Chargers or extending with the Chargers, and there's, I think Godwin, did they use the franchise tag on him?
Yes.
So he's off the table now. There's not a lot of available names out there. I read an article today that talked about, well, could the Browns kick the tires on Antonio Brown? I'd kick him and then I'd pop him and then I'd walk away. I wouldn't even touch Antonio Brown if I'm the Cleveland Browns. Like, you don't mix fire. Those are just 2 combustible elements, right? That you don't combine those 2. I don't want them anywhere near one another.
AB. I watched this interview with Ryan Clark on their podcast. Very entertaining, to say the least. He's
entertaining. But he's what I read, they said he's the Kanye of the NFL. Like, they're just wired different. They're not bad. Doesn't necessarily a bad thing. It's not great for perception purposes, of course, but not my cup of tea. But Allen Robinson, and that's who I told you a while back. Mm-hmm. That's a realistic target for the Browns. Like, I know Amari Cooper. There was talks of Devontae Adams if the Packers didn't get a deal done with Aaron Rodgers. There was Calvin Ridley. I'm like, those are all big names. That's fine. But Allen Robinson, not a huge name, but a very good talent. I think that makes a lot of sense. Robinson coming off and not his best season in 2021 while playing on the franchise tag with the Bears. This is the other thing about that franchise tag. He played uninspired football last year. It didn't help that playing with a rookie quarterback or a quarterback behind a banged up, horrible, bad offensive line. I don't know, but I do know this. If the Cleveland Browns had Allen Robinson, isn't that the same as having Jarvis as your number 1? Like, Jarvis is a very good number 2. Is Allen Robinson better than Jarvis?
Yes.
Significantly?
I think so. I think he's a deep threat more than Jarvis is. I think that he's had more explosive plays in his career. How old is Jarvis? Because I know Allen Robinson is only 28. I think they're probably about the same
Jarvis
age.
is with the Dolphins. I feel like ages ago. Like, it seemed like forever ago.
Let's find out.
So
Allen Robinson is 28.
Either way. Oh, is this true? All right. I tell you what, we're going to step away for this for a few moments. We're going to step away from this NFL talk for a few moments. This is a big deal. Everyone knows my favorite sport is baseball, baby. Is baseball back? No offense to, let me see. I got Ron Broadstock. Shout out to Ron. He says baseball is back. David M. on YouTube says the league and the Players Association have reached a tentative labor agreement. I'm not saying I don't believe any of y'all, but I do have to check my sources. So we got to go confirm.
Kenner's got sources.
Is baseball back? Are the Reds back? We're dating so with the Reds. Are we going to get Reds baseball within the next month? Let's go find out. I got to step away for a few moments. Kev, we'll be back. Don't go anywhere.
Listen, stream, watch. It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash right here on Dayton's ESPN Radio, 1410 Wing AM.
Welcome to Allstate, where saving on your auto insurance is kind of like a joyride. You, your car, and an open road. Maybe your best friend, too. The music is chill, and so is the traffic. Allstate. Here, better protection costs a whole lot less. You're in good hands with Allstate.
Call me, Dave Maldy, at 325-2474. That's 325-2474. Right across the street from Frisch's on East Main Street in Springfield. Based on coverage selected, savings vary, subject to terms, conditions, and availability.
KTH Parts Industries has immediate openings for second shift production associates and equipment technicians. KTH promotes from within, offers an attractive benefit package, including medical, dental, 401k, attendance bonus, and a competitive wage, starting at $19 per hour with annual increases and shift differential. KTH will be hosting walk-in interviews Monday through Friday from 7:30 a.m. through 3 p.m. Please bring a resume and photo ID to apply or see other career opportunities at kth.net. KTH is an equal opportunity employer.
Dirty exterior? Don't scrub it. Wet it and forget it. Wet and Forget, the easy outdoor cleaner. Wet and Forget works over time with Mother Nature to eliminate unsightly black and green stains on the exterior of your home with no scrubbing, power washing, or bleach. Use Wet and Forget on all your outdoor surfaces, including decks, siding, roofs, and patios. Wet and Forget's available in a concentrate or extreme reach hose-in. Purchase Wet and Forget in store or online at Lowe's, Menards, Ace, or Walmart.
Hello, Discover here to explain our cash back match. Here's how it works. We give you cash back for using your Discover card on the things you were going to buy anyway. Then we match that cash back in your first year. And that's why we call it Cashback Match. Now to recap and say cashback one more time. We match all the cash back you've earned at the end of your first year automatically. Discover. Exceptionally common sense. Learn more at discover.com/match. Limitations apply.
Spending more time at home? There has never been a better time to invest in your home. There is nothing better than a home theater or high-fidelity music system from Audio Etc. Can't watch your favorite basketball team in person? No problem. Audio Etc. can bring any game home. It's better than being there. You have to see it to believe the incredible quality of the picture and sound. 4K is amazing, but just imagine the 8K experience. Come to Audio Etc. today and experience 8K TVs and projectors. Surround sound? You haven't heard surround sound till you hear Dolby Atmos 360 degrees. It puts you smack dab in the middle with 11.2 channel surround sound. Audio Etc. has the brands, the deals, and the excitement. Audio Etc. powered by Klipsch, Bowers & Wilkins, SVS, Marantz, Denon, Sony, and a whole list of high-performance brands that you've probably never heard of. Audio Etc. 551 Congress Park Drive at the corner of Paragon in Centerville. Or call 434-9770.
Audio Etc's crazy cool showroom.
Tip off to frickin' madness. When we say tip off, not only are we talking about every college basketball game available, but our new barbecue rib tips only at Frickers. Delicious bite-sized barbecue rib tips with your choice of dipping sauce. Every game played to the march to the national championship and domestic draft personal pictures for only $6.50. Tip that personal picture. Tip off to the national championship of college basketball and frickin' barbecue rib tips at the home for fun, food, sports, and spirits. Frickers.
When it comes to your credit card, Discover believes in having real people available 24/7 to help answer your questions. Discover. Exceptionally common sense.
Last year, to mark its 100th birthday, Lowe's completed 100 impact projects in communities across the United States as part of 100 hometowns, benefiting more than 1 million Americans. Lowe's is making its largest ever commitment to give back to the communities it serves. Over the next 5 years, Lowe's will invest $100 million in community impact projects, supporting nearly 2,000 communities each year. Nominate your hometown project in need by March 28th. Visit Lowe's.com/hometowns to learn more or follow us at #Lowe'sHometowns.
We're planning a trip to Spain later this year.
But our Spanish
is pretty O'Reilly. Right now at O'Reilly Auto Parts, get up to a $15 gift card after mail-in rebate when you purchase select Superstart batteries. With the power, performance, and reliability your vehicle demands, Superstart batteries are designed for lasting performance and consistent starts. Turn the key with confidence. Superstart batteries only at O'Reilly Auto Parts.
O'Reilly Auto Parts. The Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, presented by Brad Mays with Home Experts Realty. Weekdays at 3 p.m. on 1410 ESPN Radio.
All right, and we are back. Justin Kinner, Kev Nash with you here on Dayton's ESPN radio station, 1410 Wing AM. So, all I've done for the past month is just say how much I hate baseball. I think baseball, the players are garbage. The league is garbage. But the league is great. The players are great. It's back, baby.
The merch.
Yes, everything's back. Reds baseball is back. Major League Baseball is back. They finally got a deal done after 90 plus days of a bunch of millionaires and billionaires throwing temper tantrums. They all have their pacifiers now. They all have their bottles, and they're down for a nap, and everyone's happy. And we can actually go back to being baseball fans again. So how about that? But yes. So I said earlier, and I appreciate those who were reminding me in the comment section, or at least letting us know about it. I appreciate that. We just have to go and double check. And then you got Moron Shaw, who has to say, oh yeah, go check the same sources everyone else does. Dude, go to work. Go do something rather than annoy me every day. What is your deal? I have no clue. He has to be everyone around him has to just can't stand him. I mean, because I can't even read his comments without him just irritating and setting my blood pressure up. And I should be in a good mood because baseball's back, and that's what we got to turn our attention back to.
Put some baseball emojis in the chat.
Put some baseball emojis in the chat, and If someone gives me 10 baseball emojis in the chat, I block Shaw. You'll never have to read his comments again. Talk about a home run. Anyways,
made me watch the show on YouTube.
ESPN's Jeff Passan says, breaking: Major League Baseball and the MLB Players Association have reached a tentative agreement on a new labor deal. While it is still needs to be ratified by both parties, that is expected to be a formality. And when it is, baseball is back. So it's back. It's not back, but it's as close to being back as what it is. Can we say it's back? It's back, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where it go?
So also, he also had his Twitter account hacked earlier.
Really?
Passan did too. So he said he's back. But players can report to spring training camps as early as tomorrow. Opening day is expected to be April 7th. That's way closer than we had anticipated. So,
I thought May.
So that is super. So let me.
I'm pulling that up myself.
Yeah. Give me 1 second.
April 7th.
Oh, here we go.
April 7th is a Thursday.
Nope, that's not the one I need. I gotta find it somewhere.
It's around here somewhere.
Yeah, there's too many damn papers in here. The bottom line is, oh look, someone gave me 10. Oh, what up, Matt? What up, Matt? he gave me the 10 baseballs, so we can officially block Shaw. It's a great day. My Wright State Raiders are in the NCAA tournament. Baseball is back. I get to block Shaw. I mean, can life get any better?
It doesn't.
Can life get any better? I'm telling you right now. But so that's a good thing. So again, players can begin reporting to spring training as early as tomorrow. Opening day is expected to be April 7th, as Jesse Rogers first reported, according to Jeff Passan. Transactions unfreeze upon ratification, which is expected to come as early as today, meaning free agents can sign and trades can occur. So here's the deal. The second that this is ratified, if you will, it's just going to be a frenzy. I mean, keep in mind, teams can report to training camp or spring training tomorrow. I mean, and guys like Nick Castellanos, there's a lot of big names who have yet to sign deals. There's a lot of teams who were not very aggressive in free agency before the lockout because they didn't know really what to expect. So if teams are already going to have players reporting to camp tomorrow, Kev, and this is ratified, let's say within the hour or within the night, we could find out at 11 o'clock, all of a sudden everything's open for business and players can start signing left and right. I mean, this is going to be a very fast and furious next couple, 48 hours. That's for sure.
Yeah. And I'm looking at the schedule. Currently, the Reds would be playing at Atlanta, but this is a part of the series that have already been canceled. if the season was going to start on April 7th.
Yeah, so the Braves are Cleveland. I thought the Reds opened up with Cleveland on the 7th.
Nope, it's Thursday, April 7th. Reds at Braves, but that's already canceled, so I have no idea what they're going to do.
Yeah, they might make it an adjustment, or they might. I don't know. Who knows? I don't care at this point. The bottom line is we know April 7th. Will it be at Great American Ballpark? Will the Reds be on the road? All of that is still up in the air. But wasn't expecting that. I was angry last night. By the time we got off the air late last night, find out the baseball had officially said, well, we're canceling more games. We're going to go deeper into the month of April. I was negative and said, there's no way in hell that they play before my wedding. Again, another example of Kinner being wrong, and another example of Kinner not giving a rip that he's wrong, because we still get baseball.
Hashtag Kinner was wrong.
You're mad that I'm wrong. I mean, people are like, I thought you said there wouldn't be any baseball before your wedding. Okay, and you're mad at that? We're mad at that. Like, too much. Too much. But nonetheless, the thing about all this too, and I know that I've said a lot of crazy things about baseball throughout this stretch, but the thing is, come July, we're going to forget about all this.
Yeah.
That's why I was even adamant about making sure I was pounding home that no matter how angry I am and how angry the things I say about how much I can't stand the players, can't stand the league, that come April, Kev, all of that, or come July, we're going to forget about it. We're going to forget that opening day was moved by 2 weeks. Mm-hmm. We're going to forget about all that. We're going to forget that we didn't get an entire month of meaningless spring training baseball games. To me, it's just the sound of the spring training games I love. I love during the day being in my office and just having the game on in the background and listening to the game in the background. That's what I like. So that's the only thing I've missed this month, if you will. But man, once we get to July and hopefully the Reds are aggressive in free agency coming out of this little pause in the action, all will be forgotten. And I can't wait to get to Great American Ballpark. Still support the Dragons. I know so many people are like, now everyone can focus on the Dragons. Still focus on the Dragons. You don't have to not focus on the Dragons just because there's Major League Baseball. But nonetheless, we have our options. That is for sure.
Gotta love options. And you're right about that. With, baseball being back, we weren't going to pay it so much attention outside of opening day until after, the draft and after the NBA finals and everything like that. Then we really focus in on baseball. But you know what? We had this conversation to nauseum last year about how important winning games early is, because we can always start that, oh man, it was early in the season, but at the end of the season, all these games count. All of them count, because if you miss the playoffs by 1 game, 2 games, 5 games, and you let games slip away in April or May, and you just say back then, I was like, oh man, it was early. Nah. Get as many wins as humanly possible. And this year, I want to see the Reds in the playoffs, as well as my team, the Cleveland Guardians. It's our first season as the Guardians. Can't wait. I got merch.
If you're just joining us, Justin Kinner, Kev Nash with you here on Dayton's ESPN radio station, 1410 Wing AM. The lockout that has gone 90-plus days. I lost track after 93 or whatever. I don't even remember what day we're in now. Bottom line is, who cares? Baseball is back. The season, April 7th, will be opening day. Players and teams can start reporting to training camp or spring training camp, whatever you want to call it, as early as tomorrow. That's pretty exciting. So now, once this is ratified, that's when free agency can start again. That's when teams can start signing players. When I said 1 or 2 big names, when I said Castellanos, he's not even the biggest name that's available to be signed yet, Kev. That has not signed yet. I mean, how about, let's go down this list. How about Carlos Correa? Carlos Correa has yet to sign. Now, the Rangers have committed $500 million to Corey Seager, Marcus Semien. The Tigers have signed Javier Baez. The Tigers doubling up on one of the big 5 free agent shortstops should, in theory, be a good thing for Correa. Again, as he's looking to make some, get some nice old payday. Cash. How about Freddie Freeman? All right. The Braves still consider the favorite to land Freddie Freeman, but there are those who believe around the Braves organization that they have seen the last of him in a Braves uniform and that he could be a big hot commodity coming out of this. Chris Bryant. Hours prior to the expiration of the CBA, John Heyman had mentioned that the Mets, Angels, Padres had all shown interest in Chris Bryant, while the Mariners, Phillies, Rockies, and Astros were among the other teams who have basically kind of checked in, kicked the tires a little bit. Bryant's expected his market prior to the lockout, Kev, remained mostly intact. The Rangers had committed about like $561 million to free agents, and the Mets are in that $254 million range. That probably decreased, but we'll see where Chris Bryant could potentially end up. But obviously, the Cubs and him are no longer connected. He was traded at the deadline last year anyways to the Giants, on top of that.
No longer an item.
Here's a name that was rumored for the Reds at the trade deadline last year that will be available come whenever deal's ratified. Of course, Trevor Story. Story could serve as the more affordable alternative to Correa, with Baez's 6-year, $140 million deal likely kind of serving as a benchmark. Story doesn't have an obvious shortstop needy team with $100+ million burning a hole in their pocket. Ooh. So because of that deal that we talked about, like with Correa out there are going to be teams like that could either help Trevor Story, that could either help him because teams are like, well, we really want Correa, but we don't want to spend that much money on him, so we'll go for Trevor Story. Or it's one of those situations where, Trevor Story has to wait for that domino to fall before he gets a team. Could the Reds go after Trevor Story? I don't think so. I mean, they were rumored heavily to acquire him at the trade deadline last year, but we'll see what ends up happening right there. We talk about one of those targets for the Cincinnati Reds being Trevor Story. How about a former Cincinnati Red that's also available in Nick Castellanos? Now, Castellanos is one of the top available bats at the opening of free agency. He figures to be easier for a new team to sign than Freeman. Castellanos is a player with some wide, air bars, according to this article. But it's going to be about that $115 million range over 5 years. So who knows? Bottom line is, I don't know if the Reds are going to be back in play for him or not. He had his best season with the Reds. He was an MVP candidate with the Reds. Him and Jesse Winker were unstoppable together with the Cincinnati Reds. To me, if I'm Nick Castellanos, I'm maybe not looking to sign a major deal right now. If you're going to get paid under what you were expecting, sign a short-term deal with the Reds. Go back to a team and an organization that you're comfortable playing for. You had your most success with. You can hit the snot out of the ball at Great American Ballpark. Castellanos, I would like to see go back to Cincinnati. If you're just tuning in, baseball's back. As soon as the deal is ratified, they'll be able to start signing free agents. We're going down the list of the top free agents available. How about Kyle Schwarber? This is a name that I threw out right before the lockout that I said honestly makes a whole hell of a lot of sense for the Cincinnati Reds. He's a player who works against kind of Castellanos in a bit. He's a year younger. He didn't receive a qualifying offer already. Plus, he had a similar 2021 season as Castellanos, albeit with less volume, if you will. So we'll see what happens, but I think that if the Reds have a good shot of ending up with either of those two, as long as the Reds are interested in spending money. But Castellini has some damage control to do because he was the one that voted against the CBA to begin with. So he has to kind of win over some fans.
Oh, okay. I was going to ask you, did you mean fans or players?
What do you mean?
But winning people over.
The fans. I mean, keep in mind, that was not a good look to only have 4 of all the owners vote against it. And Castellini's name is right there at the top. I don't know if that'll play a role in this, trying to kind of win over some fans back. But then again, if that's his mindset, the fans and winning doesn't always seem to be a priority as much as it does saving money and just checking out your wallet. So who knows what ends up happening there. But Anthony Rizzo available, Kenley Jansen, Michael Conforto, of course, Clayton Kershaw, very interesting guy right there. Zach
everybody
Greinke
on the Cubs is available.
Yes, Jonathan VR. Nelson Cruz. Bottom line is, if the Reds are not competitive in 2022, they have no one to blame but themselves. I'm not saying you end up with 2 or 3 of these names, but if you don't end up with at least one of these names, if you're the Cincinnati Reds, especially after you let Nick Castellanos go, that's a problem. The DH is now going to be a part of Major League Baseball moving forward, which makes all the sense in the world. To this day, I still have found that to be the dumbest thing in all of sports, Kev, that baseball has these different set of rules. Imagine in the NBA, as I've said, if Western Conference teams shoot free throws and Eastern Conference teams, if they get fouled on a shot, they just get the points. If you take a 3 and someone hits your arm and you get fouled, they say, well, okay, you fouled him on the shot. That's 3 points. That's how Eastern Conference teams deal with it. Western Conference teams, you get 3 free throws. Well, that's not fair. Why would they have that set of rules? Yeah, you see how stupid that sounds? That's Major League Baseball. They finally fixed that. I was either fine with the universal DH or no DH whatsoever. I'm glad that they went the universal route on either side. It makes all the sense in the world. Plus, I have no clue why you people out there that are against the DH on both sides. It doesn't make any sense. You want to watch pitchers who hit below 100 hit? Why? You like bad baseball? I don't understand. You're obsessed. Like, I don't want to watch a talented guy hit the ball. I want a less talented guy to hit the ball. That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard.
I agree. I'm always been a fan of the DH, man. It brings more pop to the game. It keeps energy in the game. Like you said, I don't want to see a pitcher up there just whiffing or just standing up there waiting to get struck out. Like, you giving outs away. You can't do that in baseball. Put another guy up there with a stick that could potentially get on base.
All right. Greg Birdkey on Facebook chimes in. He says, baseball schedule adjustment coming. According to Yahoo Sports, 162 games will be played, with doubleheaders making up the canceled games. As we talked about, the Reds were supposed to open up the season on March 31st with a 3-game series at Great American Ballpark against the Cubs. They would have had 3 more with the Pirates after that. So to have 2 NL Central series canceled, if you will, now no longer canceled, just basically postponed, if you will. April 14th. Schedule's going to be adjusted. I would expect the Reds to be opening up on April 14th. Now, I do wonder, or April 7th, April 7th. I wonder if there'll be an opening day parade. I wonder if that'll be all readjusted. Who knows? We'll see what ends up happening as far as that goes. Scott Campbell says 9-inning doubleheaders and no more runner on second in extra innings. Are you suggesting that, Scott, or is that what they agreed upon? Are they agreed upon? 9-inning doubleheaders, which I've always found dumb as well. I'm sorry, but how many of you parents out there have kids that play 3 or 4 baseball games in a day? And these major league millionaires, they can't play 2 games in one day? Is that just too much for their rich little asses to handle? Like, really? Is that what's going on? Anyways, baseball's back. Who cares? Play 5-inning doubleheaders for all I care. Just play baseball. Thanks, Scott. Ann Anderson, Kev, she says, yippee, but give me Dragons baseball any day. Best bargain in all of sports. Ann, I had you covered. That's why I said earlier. Go to Dragons games. Go to every Dragons game. Go to Great American Ballpark. Watch the Reds play there. I never understand why everything in life has to be a choice. Oh, no, I don't go to Dragons games. I go to Reds games. Oh, no.
You can do both.
I don't go to Reds games. I go to Dragons games. You could do both. We always get this thing in our head locked in, like with the Wright State UD debate. Oh, no. No one's going to go to Wright State because they're going to go to all the UD games, as if that's why, it doesn't make any damn sense. You can go to both. It doesn't hurt you. That's how I view it. All right. Ron Broadstock says, is Javier the most hated player in Major League Baseball? Makes it kind of easy. He says, Bob isn't worried about us at all. He also likes the DH. David M. says, re-signing Castellanos and multiple big-name bullpen arms need to be the Reds' focus. What do I believe they'll do? Exactly what they were doing before the lockout, ripping the roster to cut costs. I don't need negativity right now. I'm finally starting to feel pretty happy. All right. It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash live here on Dayton's ESPN radio station, 1410 Wing AM. Coming up here at the top of the hour, Brett Norris is the head coach for Hilliard Bradley boys basketball over in Columbus. Brett Norris has 2 sons who play on 2 different Division I basketball teams who just punched their ticket to the NCAA tournament this past week during Champ Week. All right, you have, his son, Braden Norris, who plays at Loyola, and Keaton Norris, who plays at Wright State. So we're going to chat with Coach Brett Norris coming up here in about 9 minutes. He'll join us at the top of the hour. He has 2 sons preparing to play in the NCAA tournament, Kev, next week. He was able to go watch his son Braden play in the NCAA tournament last year when Loyola was beating Georgia Tech and knocking off 1 seed Illinois. Of course, Ed Hinkle last year. So he got to watch his one son do it. Now he has a chance to do it again, but now he has 2 sons to juggle. So we're going to chat with him about just what that experience is like to have 2 sons playing in the NCAA tournament. One of those, of course, Wright State's Keaton Norris, the son of Brett Norris, head basketball coach over at Hilliard Bradley. So he joins us coming up around the corner. But I'm excited. We got baseball back. We'll get to some NFL stuff coming up around the corner as well. We'll continue our free agent discussion. ESPN released an article of the top free agent targets that every team needs to target. We'll talk about the Browns. We'll talk about the Bengals. All of that coming up. But let's step away for a breather. 518-1410. Phone lines are open. More of the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash next.
The Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash. Presented by Brad Mays with Home Experts Realty. Weekdays at 3 p.m. on 1410 ESPN Radio.
Tip off to frickin' madness. When we say tip off, not only are we talking about every college basketball game available, but our new barbecue rib tips only at Frickers. Delicious bite-sized barbecue rib tips with your choice of dipping sauce. Every game played to the march to the national championship and domestic draft personal pictures for only $6.50. Tip that personal picture. Tip off to the national championship of college basketball and frickin' barbecue rib tips at the home for fun, food, sports, and spirits. Frickers.
If you're suffering every day with joint pain, stop and listen. You can get real, lasting relief now with natural biologic treatments at QC Kinetic. Hey, it's Keith Byers. QC Kinetics is the nation's leader in regenerative solutions that can restore and repair damaged tissue with no surgery and no drugs. This is the relief you've been hoping for. The unique protocols at QC Kinetics were created by a physician with years of study in regenerative restorative medicine. They're treating patients every day in hundreds of clinics nationwide with remarkable success, life-changing results with zero downtime. It's the new, better, smarter, non-surgical, non-invasive way to deal with joint pain. And yes, they're right here, ready to help you now. Call for a free consultation. Make this spring and summer your best.
Apply online at jobs.meyer.com. Keyword search distribution. Location Tip City or call 937-669-9155. 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. Monday through Friday. Walk-in interviews are available with on-the-spot job offers. Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. Call 937-669-9155. Meyer is an equal opportunity employer.
Ray Magliozzi here. eBay Motors has the right parts at the right prices. 122 million of them. And if there's one thing I love, it's great parts and great prices. eBay Motors, let's ride.
He's a former Buckeyes great and now a college football Hall of Famer. And don't forget about his 13 years of NFL experience playing for the Eagles, Dolphins, Jets, and the New England Patriots. He's Dayton's own Keith Byers. Hang out with him every Monday at noon on the Keith Byers Show, presented by Lee's Famous Recipe Chicken.
Well, Jason, I've got to tell you, you're pretty much everything this company is looking for in an entry-level candidate.
Great.
Your resume isn't quite what we're used to, but you've got a fantastic work ethic.
Thank you.
And I'm impressed by how you carry yourself.
So, should we talk about the job?
Oh, what? The job? Oh, sorry. Yeah, I have no way of recruiting or even meeting you. This interview didn't happen.
It may sound ridiculous, and that's because it kind of is. There's a huge pool of talent your company is missing out on. Meet the grads of life. Who are they? Talent worth knowing about. Young adults of unique determination and experience. An ideal fit for your company in an entry-level position, internship, or even mentorship. They might not have every qualification you typically look for, but they're exactly who your company needs.
Man, we really could have used him.
Don't miss out on a resource many innovative companies have already discovered. Go to gradsoflife.org to learn how to find, cultivate, and train this great pool of untapped talent. Brought to you by the Ad Council and gradsoflife.org.
All right, Justin Kinner back with you here on 1410 ESPN Radio. Justin Kinner, Kev Nash, the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash right here on 1410 Wing AM. Coming up here in just a few moments, we'll head over to Hilliard Bradley. Brett Norris is the head coach of Hilliard Bradley, their boys basketball team, of course, but he has two sons, Kev, who's getting set to play in the NCAA tournament. How about that? I mean,
that's nice.
You know, I don't have kids. I know you don't have kids, but all my friends that have kids, I'm watching them follow their kids all around for their sports schedules and stuff, and they're ready to rip their hair out. I've friends who have daughters in cheer who are following other cheer competitions and basketball, baseball, that stuff. And you think when they're out of high school that they're done. Well, we'll talk with with Brett coming up here in a little bit about chasing his kids around at the college level. So that's pretty exciting. But Braden Norris and Keaton Norris are his two sons. Braden plays at Loyola. Keaton plays for right here in town with Wright State, and both of them punched their tickets to the NCAA tournament. So we'll chat with him about how tough it is to kind of balance, his responsibilities, coaching here over in Columbus, of course, and then obviously having to chase his kids around, but pretty fun stuff. We'll chat with him coming up here in about 4 minutes. He'll be hopping on with us. 518-1410. We have time for a call. Kev, who we have?
We have Denny, line 2.
Denny, how are you, sir? Welcome. We do not have Denny. You said he had a question about the one seeds.
Yes, the one seeds in the tournament. Who do you think the one seeds are going to be?
I mean, at this point, so here's who Joe Lenardi has as his one seed: Gonzaga, Baylor, Arizona, Kansas. Pretty cool, obviously. Dayton has
one more time.
Gonzaga, Baylor, Arizona, Kansas are his one seeds.
Okay, for me, I think if Auburn and Kentucky play in the SEC title game, the winner of that probably be a number one. And if Kansas is able to beat Baylor in the Big 12 championship game, they'll be the number one seed.
And looking at this point, the gap between ones and twos, like there's no true number one team this year. Like there, in fact, there hasn't been that for at least 2 years.
Yeah.
I don't know who was that last team that, hell, even that Zion year with Duke, they weren't even the number one team, but that was that dominant team that everyone looked at. But who was that last team that everyone deemed untouchable?
Kentucky team that lost to Wisconsin.
Yeah,
with the Wisconsin team with Frank Kaminsky and the fellas.
So with was that Anthony Davis year?
No, that was, who was that? Was that Stolly Kine?
Willie Cauley-Stein and those guys?
I think so.
Either way, but no, it's like,
man, that seems like a long time ago. That's probably like 8 years ago.
So if you look at the gap right now, like so Gonzaga, Baylor, Arizona, Kansas are Joe Lunardi's one seeds if the tournament bracket was to be released today. You mean to tell me that those one seeds are significantly better than the two seeds of Wisconsin, Duke, Kentucky, Auburn? Like if I was to tell you that my one seeds are Wisconsin, Duke, Kentucky, Auburn, I don't think anyone would bat an eye at that.
Right.
Which, by the way, Gonzaga deserves to be number one. Like that doesn't bother me. But even the threes, Kev, Purdue, Villanova, Tennessee, Texas Tech's been interesting. You know, they've been able to, kind of survive the Beard leaving to take the Texas job, which is pretty cool. But very exciting. I mean, like Purdue, they've kind of slowed down a little bit, but that's a team with that size and a one-and-done type tournament. Look out for Purdue when that time comes. All right, we'll get back into some more of this. Baseball is back, as we talked about. That's huge. That is huge. Again, the Cincinnati Reds had the season started on time. They would have, opening day would have just been here in a few weeks. They were supposed to open up on March 31st against the Chicago Cubs for a 3-game series, followed up by a 3-game home series against the Pittsburgh Pirates. Now, April 7th is the targeted opening day for Major League Baseball. If the schedule sticks as what it is, the Reds would open up on the road against the Atlanta Braves. There are adjustments being made to the schedule. No games have been canceled. Games have been postponed. The games that have been missed will be made up. So there is that. So I wouldn't expect the Reds to open up on the road at Atlanta. I would almost assume, I would like to bet that they were going to get the Reds to open back up at home like they traditionally do. But we'll transition back into that more later on. It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash. Let's continue talking a little college basketball on the other side. Again, as I mentioned, Hilliard Bradley head basketball coach Brett Norris has two sons preparing to play in next week's NCAA tournament. Braden Norris at Loyola, Keaton Norris right here in town playing for the Wright State Raiders. We'll hear from Coach Norris coming up in just 90 seconds.
Excuse me. I know you have a 9 o'clock, so I'll keep this short. I'm the business suit in the back of your closet. You wore me nearly every day before your office went, quote, casual. I used to be the CEO of your closet. Now I'm just that one intern no one ever talks to. I always thought you'd circle back with me, get granular, keep me in the pipeline. But nada, nothing. Don't you remember the McKittrick presentation? You spilled coffee on me and I still looked amazing during the breakout talkback Q&A. So I think it's time for me to move on. I've got a great resume and I absolutely crush it in interviews, okay? Let's make this a clean break. Shift the paradigm. The only thing I ask is that you think outside the box here and do this. Take me to Goodwill, where I can really make a difference.
Your donations to Goodwill create new jobs, training programs, and education assistance for people in your community. To find your nearest donation center, go to goodwill.org. Donate stuff, create jobs. A message from Goodwill and the Ad Council.
Attention men under the age of 35. You know what really impresses the ladies? When a guy has a few drinks and later gets pulled over for buzzed driving. That could cost you around $10,000 in fines, legal fees, and increased insurance rates. There goes let's grab dinner and a movie. Oh, I know. You drive more carefully when you're buzzed. You've proven that hundreds of times. A woman admires that kind of confidence. And you've practiced how to speak if a cop does pull you over. Slowly, clearly, and politely like, good evening, officer. A woman admires that kind of foresight. And what woman doesn't find it adorable that you call it buzzed even though the law calls it drunk? You can kiss $10,000 goodbye, along with any chance of having a girlfriend. Because nothing says, I'm a catch, more than a guy who lives in his parents' basement and calls it my place.
Buzzed, busted, and broke. Because buzz driving is drunk driving.
A message from the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
WYNG 1410 Dayton, Dayton's ESPN Radio.
Justin Kinner back with you here on 1410 ESPN Radio, Dayton's ESPN radio station. The Wright State Raiders are going dancing. That's right. They beat Northern Kentucky 72-71 in the Horizon League title game this past Tuesday night. Back in the NCAA tournament for the second time since 2018 and the second time since Wright State head coach Scott Nagy has taken over this program. It's an exciting time for the Wright State program, but my favorite part about the NCAA tournament is always these special feature stories that come out. We know all the stories within the programs. We know all the great storylines that develop on the floor. But what about off the floor? This is where you get a chance to learn about the players, the coaching staff, and just some of the great feel-good stories that make these tournament runs that much more special. Brett Norris, he is the head coach at Hilliard Bradley. He has two sons who have punched their ticket to the NCAA tournament, or at least play on teams that have punched their ticket to the NCAA tournament. Coach Norris's son, Braden, plays at Loyola, who was a part of that deep tournament run last year with wins over Georgia Tech and, of course, knocking off the 1 seed Illinois. How special of a run was that for Loyola, Braden Norris, and Hilliard Bradley's head coach, Brett Norris? But he has another son that's playing Division I college basketball, Keaton Norris, with the Wright State Raiders. And now, with Loyola punching their ticket to this upcoming tournament, Wright State's Keaton Norris did the same. And joining us now to discuss the success of his sons and the programs that his sons play on as they head into the weekend where Selection Sunday awaits, Hilliard Bradley's head coach, Brett Norris. Coach, welcome in, sir. How are you?
I'm doing great, Justin. Really appreciate you having me on.
Yeah, Coach, absolutely. And I think this is a great story. Congratulations, by the way. But however you want to answer this, whether you want to answer it as a father or answer it as a coach or just combined, however you want to answer this, that's totally fine. But when you're sitting down just by yourself, just kind of looking off into the distance, thinking about what your sons have just accomplished and what the programs that your sons play on have just accomplished, being such a big basketball family, just how special is this to not have just one kid play on an NCAA tournament team, but two sons with Keaton, of course, at Wright State, Braden at Loyola. How special is this?
Yeah, I mean, it's really difficult to describe. I think, the game has been such an integral part of our life. My father was a high school coach, and then having 4 sons, and my wife played college basketball. And so the game itself has been so important. And then to watch anybody that's a parent and, when you get to watch your kids chase their dreams and then, fulfill their dreams. And for us, the other 4, my wife and I and our 2 younger sons, to take a 6-day journey in which we were able to see both Keaton and Braden cut down the nets and celebrate the opportunity to play in, in my opinion, the greatest sporting event in our country was surreal and certainly, a journey that we'll never forget, and just so happy and proud, of both of the opportunities that those 2 guys have earned.
Coach, obviously, no matter what level you coach at, there's a lot of sacrifice involved. You're sacrificing a lot of time with your family. And of course, that's limited you on how much of your game, how much of the games that you can go and watch for your sons at the collegiate level right now. But let's go back to last year. Braden playing for Loyola, of course, they go on that huge NCAA tournament run, knocking off Georgia Tech. They knocked off the number 1 seed, or one of the number 1 seeds in Illinois, of course. Were you able to go? And again, I asked because I'm trying to think back to last year. I know that it was a different NCAA tournament because of COVID. I can't remember what fan restrictions they had. You got to go to that, correct? And how tough is that to be able to juggle the responsibilities back at home as a coach and still being able to find time to go and be on the road and support your sons and be able to attend as many of these games as possible? That was just 1 son last year. Now you got 2 this year.
Several of Braden's games, the second half of the season and the entire Missouri Valley were open to family. And so my wife and our youngest son got a chance to go to all that, take that in. But as you mentioned, we played into the regional last year. So the first game that I got to see was the NCAA tournament first round game at Hinkle Fieldhouse against Georgia Tech. And so not being able to take in, the conference tournament, with us still playing, as great as that was on the professional end, personally, it was difficult. So as you say, sometimes you think things happen for a reason. And when we, bowed out the second round of this year's tournament, certainly the next day, the father in me thought, well, at least, we'll have the opportunity to go watch Keaton and Braden, play in the conference championship. But even then, you could have never dreamed that it would have worked out the way it did. And even, ironically, the way the Missouri Valley and the Horizon, the schedule's working out for us to see the quarterfinals in Dayton on Thursday, then go to St. Louis for Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and then back to Indy for Monday, Tuesday. Like, it just, again, at times seems like, it's all been a dream, but certainly one that we don't want to wake up from. It has been an amazing week for us.
Really cool. And again, just so many great experiences and memories you already have following your son Braden's career at Loyola. Deep tournament run last year, looking to repeat that. That'll be something special. But as far as Keaton is concerned, with his role at Wright State in the NCAA tournament for the first time since 2018, only the fourth time in program history. They're looking to kind of go on that Loyola type Cinderella run as well. And already great experiences watching Braden. You're hoping to do that again with Keaton, but Keaton has already stepped up and made some big plays throughout this Horizon League tournament run. Just talk about what you, from, again, a coach's perspective, a father's perspective as well, as what do you see from Keaton and how he's kind of stepped into his role and accepted his role? It's not a lot of seniors on this roster, but a lot of experience, and he's trying to, pick his spots, and he goes in and he plays his role to the highest level, made some big plays against Cleveland State, that 4-point play, a career high in 10 points, I believe, and just had his best game as a Raider. Wright State doesn't beat Cleveland State if it's not for the Keaton Norrises of the world who step up and are able to kind of help elevate those around him. What are you seeing from your son in his freshman season, especially as he stepped up and made some of the biggest plays throughout this tournament run?
Yeah, it certainly, was very special. And, I think the way Keaton's been raised in the game, the success of the team will always supersede any wants or desires you have as an individual, but to not just see us, beat Cleveland State, but for Keaton to step in and, as you said, make some big plays in such a big game to help the team win, that I think is really critical, in his development and the development of our team. And I think you've seen that, whether it's been Keaton or Andrew or AJ or some of those other guys that have fulfilled a role with the four returning players, those returning starters, has been a really big part of the success they've experienced here. And as they move forward, if they're going to be successful, it's going to be, like it would be a direct result of the contributions of everybody on the team.
We have Brent Norris with us here. He's the head coach at Hilliard Bradley over in near Columbus, and he's joining us now because he doesn't have just one but two sons playing now in the NCAA tournament. His one son, Braden Norris at Loyola, Keaton Norris at Wright State. Wright State just punched their ticket to the NCAA tournament with their 72-71 win over Northern Kentucky the other night. You were at that game, correct, Coach? What was your takeaway when Wright State's down 16? I don't know if you're a negative Nancy like me, but I was already contemplating whether I was going to leave before the end of the game. What was going through your mind as the Wright State, they played 12 minutes of great basketball and 28 minutes of ugly basketball, but that 12 minutes of great basketball, that allowed them to put their dancing shoes on?
Yeah, I tend to be, I suppose, being a little older and old school, I tend to sometimes be a little bit negative. And it was very similar, to the Oakland game in the quarterfinals, where there wasn't a lot of reason to believe, there are certain games where the margin's like that, but you can kind of feel, that one team is, maybe a possession or two from gaining some momentum. There wasn't a lot of reason to believe that. Thought Northern Kentucky had been, previous to the game, and certainly to that point, the game, been playing extremely well. But basketball is an amazing game. And I think particularly, tournament basketball, when there's so much at stake. And so the one thing you always know is if you can win 3 or 4 possessions in a row, which we hadn't to that point, that it can shift quickly, and the pressure on the team in the lead, I think, in the tournament with what was at stake can be significant. And so, so pleased, and says a lot about the character of Wright State staff and their players, that they were able to hang in there and have the right mindset to get that turned around. And in some respects, even though it's hard on the heart, makes it even a little bit more gratifying, I think the way that it came about and may serve them well here as they move forward.
Brett Norris, head coach at Hilliard Bradley, with us here on 1410 ESPN Radio. Two sons. He has two sons on two different programs who are heading to the NCAA tournament. Of course, Braden Norris at Loyola, and right here in Dayton at Wright State University, of course, Keaton Norris. And Coach, real quick about Keaton's recruiting journey, if you will, really just not just about Keaton, but Braden and just your sons in general. You being a basketball coach, of course, you see the game different than most parents who have kids going through the recruiting process. You being a basketball coach and the father, what was your role in their recruiting journeys? Like, how involved were you, of course? Were you kind of, at arm's length and you kind of let them kind of go through it on their own, or how involved were you as far as what direction you can kind of point them in, obviously with your knowledge of the game being a successful basketball coach?
Yeah, I mean, I was heavily involved, more from a coaching aspect. And it helped me. So two things. Braden had gone through the recruiting process, obviously, and ended up at Oakland the first time with not a lot of Division I opportunities. And honestly, I was probably too guarded as a father. It was difficult for me to talk about him and highlight his strengths. And so I probably didn't do him the service that I've done other players that didn't share my last name. And then when he transferred, I think I had learned a lot by that time and did a better job from a coaching perspective. And so I had some experience with it when it came to Keaton. And, Keaton, very much like Braden, being undersized, not being your typical Division I college player, was under-recruited. And then when you add the fact that, so Keaton's junior year, we were still playing. We had won in the regional semi. We were in the Elite Eight when they shut us down. And he was playing great, was really a player that was ascending. And then we head into an off season where there's no typical AAU basketball. It was just very difficult for a player that was really improving. But the one thing with Wright State is they had recruited Braden especially hard in the transfer process. And then we had another player, Matt Alaka, who's now at Princeton, who has also a chance if they can win the Ivy this weekend to play in the big dance. And Wright State got in on him late. And so I think the fact that, I had some familiarity with Coach Nagy and his staff, and it was our third straight point guard that they had recruited a little bit. So there was some familiarity there, and I thought we could have some very honest conversation in a difficult recruiting period with COVID. And, I think that was a big part, the previous relationship that we had and what led them, to have the kind of belief and faith in an undersized player like Keaton is, that he could help the program.
Coach Scott Nagy and his staff. I'm a huge fan of Scott Nagy, and I was just curious your talks with him throughout Keaton's recruiting journey as well, and just what you see from him and his staff, from afar, sitting back and watching Keaton and the Raiders.
Well, look, from a parental standpoint, once your kids leave your house, it becomes a lot less about the basketball. You want the ball to go well, don't get me wrong, and I know how much our sons have invested, but it really becomes about the people that they're going to be with when they leave your house. And the one thing that I was very confident in, not just Coach Nagy, but became, friends and a lot more conversation with Clint Sargent, the associate head coach. And the one thing I was confident that Keaton was going to leave our house and be, around coaches and other young people that were going to really help his development as a young person, a young man. And that we were confident in, and that's exactly what we found to be true. So, I can't say enough about, the kind of people that the Wright State staff and players have been and how comfortable Keaton feels there and how happy he is to be a part of the Wright State program.
All right. Last thing, Coach, before we let you go, Brett Norris, head coach at Hilliard Bradley, of course, two sons in the NCAA tournament, Keaton Norris with Wright State, Braden Norris with Loyola. I don't know how much you pay attention to bracketology reports, but ESPN's Joe Lunardi. Yeah, exactly. ESPN's Joe Lunardi has Wright State in the first four at UD Arena, which is very convenient for where you're located, as a 16 seed, and Loyola as a 10 seed, potentially over Milwaukee. Now, if Wright State wins their first four matchup, assuming that's where they get placed, he has them going, I believe, to San Diego to take on Arizona. So that would be quite the trek. But we always know as a parent, kids will ask, which one's your favorite? And you say you don't have favorites. But is that true? How are you going to decipher? How are you and the wife and the kids and the family deciphering who you're going to go watch? And how is that going to be handled? It's a good problem to have, by the way.
It is a good problem. There will be a little anguish involved. My wife brought it up on the way home Tuesday night from Indy, and my comment was, "Can we just wait until Sunday night? Let's soak this all in. Let's enjoy it." What I will say is, we will make every attempt. Whether we can stay together, or we have to split. Someone will be at all those games, and obviously, we're so fortunate to be in this situation, but we will do our very best to make sure that we're at each and every game.
It's a great story. You're a great coach, a great person, and I appreciate you taking time and hanging out with us today here on the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash. Coach Brett Norris from Hilliard Bradley, again, father of Keaton Norris with Wright State, who just punched their ticket to the NCAA tournament just this past Tuesday with the Horizon League Championship win over Northern Kentucky. Coach, thank you so much, and again, enjoy this. This is really special.
Thanks, Justin. I really appreciate you having me on.
It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash.
Justin, you're awesome, baby.
Right here on 1410 ESPN Radio. ESPN 1410 Wing AM weather.
This afternoon will be mainly clear and sunny, a high near 50. Tonight's going to be partly cloudy, a low near 32, and tomorrow's going to be mostly cloudy, a high near 50. I'm Pete Spivak for 1410 ESPN Radio.
You have empty office space to fill or home office to create. You know what you need. You know what you'd like. But you also have a pretty good idea after you've shopped around the usual places what you need and what you like might not happen. Well, then you haven't been to Charles Larrick's Warehouse Outlet. Nobody has their selection. Nobody has their discounts. And every week, there's something new. If you need office furniture, Larrick's Warehouse Outlet can sell it to you for half the price and below manufacturer's selected prices. Half price and below on hundreds of items. Selection from budget to the best. Really, desks from $50 to $5,000. Filing cabinets from $25 to $500. Before you go anywhere else, do yourself a favor and come to Larrick's Warehouse Outlet. With 25,000 square feet of selection, you're not going to go anywhere else. Larrick's Warehouse Outlet at 23 McOil Avenue, Dayton. Open Monday through Friday, 9 to 6. Larrick's, continuing the tradition.
We're out of the brand name, but we do have the generic version of
Serene's Pharmacy can't keep up with allergy season.
Who's next in line?
They need certified technicians to alleviate the headache.
Ma'am, I'm so sorry for the wait. We'll have your prescription filled soon. I need some help.
Indeed can help them hire great people fast.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. Instant Match instantly connects you with quality candidates whose resumes on Indeed match your sponsored job description. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get $75 towards your first sponsored job. Terms and conditions apply.
Cordell Transportation is now hiring Class A CDL drivers. $5,000 sign-on bonus. That's right, $5,000 sign-on bonus. Home daily dedicated lanes, no-touch freight. Apply today at CordellTransportation.com. Cordell Transportation, driven to succeed.
Hi, my name is Takia, and a little thing that I love about the Smokehouse Barbecue Bacon Sandwich is when I take a bite, it's the perfect blend from the bacon to the cheese. It's perfection.
Hey, I'm Katora, and a little thing I love about the Chick-fil-A mac and cheese is it kind of melts in your mouth, so you know it's creamy, cheesy, and delicious. This gooey mac makes me cheese every time.
Order dinner delivered on the Chick-fil-A app today. Delivery fee and other restrictions apply. Real guests paid for their testimonials.
Straight Talk Wireless now has the new iPhone 13 with cinematic mode, which lets you focus on what matters. And with Straight Talk, you can focus on getting the best deal. Our Silver Unlimited plan is just $45 a month for unlimited talk, text, and data. And it runs on the largest, most dependable networks, now with nationwide 5G. With the iPhone 13 on Straight Talk, you can share whatever you want, wherever you want. Straight Talk Wireless. 5G capable device required. Actual availability, coverage, and speed may vary. See terms and conditions at straighttalk.com.
Tip off to frickin' madness. When we say tip off, not only are we talking about every college basketball game available, but our new barbecue rib tips only at Frickers. Delicious bite-sized barbecue rib tips with your choice of dipping sauce. Every game played to the march to the national championship and domestic draft personal pictures for only $6.50. Tip that personal picture. Tip off to the national championship of college basketball and frickin' barbecue rib tips at the home for fun, food, sports, and spirits. Frickers.
What's done more to improve overall health and wellness, modern medicine or personal hygiene? Actually, it's both. But considering that bathing went mainstream in the 1800s and brushing your teeth in the 1900s, isn't it time for something new, like cleaning your nose? After all, your nose is the body's air filter for trapping dirt and germs, the first line of defense against allergens, bacteria, and viruses from getting into your lungs. But how do you clean your nose? With Navage. Navage isn't medicine, it's more like plumbing. Navage uses powered suction to pull saline in one nostril to the very back of the nose where germs can get trapped and multiply, and then out the other nostril, flushing out mucus and microbes so you can breathe better, sleep deeper, snore less, and stay healthier. Join over 2 million others and find out for yourself how refreshing and easy to use Navage is. At Navage.com, Walgreens, CVS, Rite Aid, Bed Bath, and Target. Navage. Clean nose, healthy life.
Staples stores are a new world of possible with innovative tools for small business and remote workers and learners. Explore more at your local Staples store or staplesconnect.com.
The Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, presented by Brad Mays with Home Experts Realty. Weekdays at 3 p.m. on 1410 ESPN Radio.
Justin Kinner, Kev Nash, back with you here on 1410 ESPN Radio. Thank you to Coach Norris taking time and hanging out with us here a bit this afternoon. And again, Kev, how crazy is that?
I love it.
That's
a great story. 2
kids. I mean, it's crazy. I mean, to have one kid play on the Division I level that's fortunate to play in the NCAA tournament, and then have 2. And there's stories out there, you have 2 of the same siblings on the same team and experience it. But I think that's pretty dang neat and a good story at that. So thank you, Coach Norris, for hanging out with us. Again, the father of Keaton Norris with Wright State, the Raiders, back in the NCAA tournament for the first time since 2018 and 4th time in program history. So that's interesting. We're kind of getting a better idea of what the field is going to look like as far as some of the teams that we cover the most here. Again, the Dayton Flyers, they'll be in action tomorrow night. They'll take on, of course, I believe, the winner between George Washington and UMass. So they'll face one of those 2 teams Friday at 6 o'clock. So tomorrow night. And the Flyers, again, 3 games, 3 days. I said, so you'll probably have to play, let's just say you played George Washington or whoever, whatever. You play George Washington tomorrow. You play VCU Saturday and Davidson Sunday. Well, but that's not as tough of a 3-day stretch as they had in Orlando, and they came out on top, including knocking off one of the number 1 seeds, projected number 1 seeds in Kansas. They beat Miami, the Hurricanes, of course, not Miami of Ohio, my favorite football program. They knocked off the Miami Hurricanes in Orlando. The very next day, they took care of, just that bum Kansas program that's one of the number 1 seeds. And then they beat Belmont in that championship game for that Orlando Invitational. So I think that stretch was way tougher than what they have to face coming up. And I think that they are a 10 times better basketball team right now. They beat Kansas. Mally Smith still trying to learn who the hell he is. And as a freshman, you're never not trying to figure out who you are, trying to, even as a sophomore. But Deron Holmes, in just a couple games into his career. So they weren't a very good basketball team back in December. They're a good basketball team right now, a really good basketball team. Anthony Grant's done a good job with the turnaround. They've won 20-plus games, the number 2 seed in the A-10. I think that this is a much more manageable situation than the one that they found themselves in Orlando, and they came out unscathed there. So I don't know. I'm not as – Flyer fans are all nervous about this. Like, oh, man, they've, history's against them. They haven't won this conference tournament in decades. And all I'm saying is, again, if you just think about who the team is right now, who the teams they have in front of them, good teams, yes. But this is not even the toughest 3-day stretch of basketball that they faced this year. Back in November for that Invitational in Orlando, Miami, Kansas, Belmont. That's a much tougher stretch than what they're about to face over the next 3 days. If they really are good enough to get the NCAA tournament, if they are that good as everyone's, they'll win the next 3 days. But if you're trying to convince me that they should get that large and then they lose one of the next 3, proof is in the ball, man. And if they don't come out on top in all 3 of these, it wasn't meant to be. So we'll see.
Where are they at right now? First 4 out, or are they on that?
First 4 out.
Okay.
First 4 out. And Michigan lost today, so that's interesting. So the first 4 out include Indiana, which that could hurt Dayton a little.
Right, because they just won today.
Because Indiana beat Michigan.
Yeah, they were down, 17?
So that could hurt Dayton because, Xavier lost yesterday. And if Xavier was to be bumped, Indiana could replace them. And then Xavier's in that first 4 out, possibly. Again, a lot has to shake out. Wake Forest, they have a chance to solidify themselves as a first 4 team. They're in right now, according to Joe Lunardi. Again, Joe Lunardi updates this daily. There hasn't been a lot of movement. As we talked about, if the first 4 was, if Joe Lunardi's bracket was the official bracket, the first 4 would look as this: Nichols and Alcorn State, one of the 16 seed matchups. The other 16 seed matchup would feature Wright State and Bryant. And then the 12 seed matchups would be Wyoming and SMU, and then Wake Forest and Xavier. Wake Forest, they're not winning that ACC tournament, so they're going to pick up another loss. They could be moved to that next 4 out. Xavier just lost yesterday. They could be moved to that line. I don't think that they're a lock as far as a first 4. I mean, they could be bumped. So I just think that a lot can happen here. Dayton, you can't lose one of the next 3 and expect to get in. I still think you have to win all 3 of these to get in. I don't think they're getting an at-large, and I don't think they're even getting in the first 4 if that's the case. They have to win this conference tournament.
Yeah, punch your ticket. I mean, it's been how many years since they won a A-10 tournament title?
30. It's been a while. I don't have the exact date in front of me, but yeah, it's been decades. So it's been a while. But that stuff don't matter. That stuff don't matter to me. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I know that history has shown that they haven't had success there, but this is about this team and what they have on the floor now. A lot of people made a lot about the Bengals not winning a playoff game in how many years? Maybe that was the 30 I had in my head. But, Joe Burrow said it best. He goes, I don't care about the previous 30 years of not winning. It's about this team and the now. And that's what Dayton, they find themselves in that position. Who cares if it's been decades since you've won an A-10 championship? Do it now.
Yeah, I mean, decades ago, they weren't alive.
Yeah. 518-1410, by the way. 518-1410. That's the number to call in and jump in on the conversation. Chad Kinser on Facebook, Kev. He says, well, I'm going to make sure everyone can read it first. Give me 1 second so that I can edit this. He says, I don't see Dayton getting past Davidson again. Dayton, of course, was able to get that huge closeout win, the regular season closeout win against Davidson. So that was big to take some momentum into this. But we'll see. VCU is always a tough opponent for them.
Yeah.
Look, they're going to be challenged tomorrow, Saturday and Sunday. But we can't overlook the 2 teams that they could potentially play tomorrow in George Washington or UMass. We've seen UD lose to worse teams. We're not that far removed from not even 2 weeks ago them losing to LaSalle. Before the LaSalle loss, they had got beat up by St. Louis pretty good. And the only reason you felt like anything positive came out of that game is because Anthony Grant was ready to throw hands with a former player in the front row for talking smack to Mally Smith. So it's not like Dayton has been perfect over this last month stretch that they've needed to play to get in. So we'll see what happens. But yes, that's what's exciting about this. Now, let me ask you, you're a fan of a team that plays in the ACC. That,
yes, sir.
To be fair, your team did have to win the conference tournament to get in. Syracuse will not get an at-large bid, of course.
No.
But I find these conference tournaments for conferences like the Big Ten, conferences like the ACC, just kind of pointless. I don't really get into them too much. They're more beneficial for an Ohio State, I guess. Like Ohio State, but not even then. Like Ohio State, they can lose tonight. Ohio State's in action later on tonight, 9 o'clock, 1410 ESPN Radio, by the way, Big Ten tournament. That's what I find fascinating about this. So they, it doesn't matter. They lose tonight, they're still in. And there's some teams that are like, okay, do you want to play 3 games in 4 days or 4 games in 4 days? Or do you let's just get out of here? I'm not saying you're planning on losing. But I don't think there's a lot of coaches who have teams that have a resume good enough to make the tournament. I know your goal, move up a seed or 2 if possible. But I just don't see the benefit in these games. You risk getting guys hurt. And because it's not just one game. We're talking multiple games. Guys sit out of bowl games, and it's one damn game. This is conference tournament where you have to win 3 games in however many period of days to get there. Well, if you're already in, who cares? I know you want that conference championship, but who cares? The NCAA tournaments where you make your money. I don't know. I just find it interesting. For me, mid-major schools, the conference tournament, nothing beats that. There's nothing. I mean, to see the desperation in fans and players in the Horizon League tournament, you don't get that same vibe watching Duke Syracuse. Maybe Duke Syracuse a little bit more desperate because that's their win and you're in type deal. But you don't get that in the Big Ten. You don't get that in the SEC, ACC, and others. You're in, already before the conference tournament starts. I kind of like it. UD is kind of interesting for the first time. They're not used to being that, oh, we have to win the conference tournament to get in. They like to be in that at-large conversation. Technically kind of still are, but right now they're not very different than Wright State. They got to win their conference tournament to get in. I know they look at themselves as way separated bigly from Wright State, but they're not. They're in the same situation. They have to win their conference tournament. So that's where they're at right now.
Yeah, I understand where you're coming from with, the Dukes of the world and the Kentuckys and Baylors. Like, they're in March Madness regardless of what happens in their tournament. But I love those stories about not only the one bid leagues like the Horizon League, but think back to when UConn went on their magical run with Kemba Walker, where they won 4 games in 4 days and captured the Big East championship. And not only that, they propelled that into a national championship powered by Kemba Walker and the crew. You know what I'm saying? So it's like those stories. I mean, shoot, I think I saw the clip 11 years ago. Today, he hit that step back game winner at Madison Square Garden over Pitt and everything like that. Those are the stories and those are the moments that we love about college basketball so much. So I would hate for us to be robbed of that if guys or teams would just say, nah, we're not playing in our conference tournament because we saving it for the big tournament.
518-1410, 518-1410. That's the number to call and jump in on the conversation. And again, as we were talking about earlier, just those 1 seeds, I don't think that, the gap between the 1, 2, and 3 seeds, Purdue could be a 3 seed. They're as good as a 1. They could be any of those teams in the 1. There's no gap. And does that help mid-major teams in these NCAA tournaments, or does it hurt? Like, there's more 1 seed caliber teams than not. Like, I don't. Like, I don't know, is this going to be an upset? There's upsets every year, but Is this a mid-major friendly field, or does this work against the mid-majors? Because I feel like when you don't have those dominant teams, and there's a lot of really, really good teams, you end up with 1 seed-esque teams filling those 3 and 4 seeds. Okay. So I think you're going to see less upsets this year. I could be wrong, but I'm not feeling as confident about these major Cinderella runs. But
it happens every year.
Maybe it's Wright State.
Hey!
That ain't happening as a 16th seed. That's why I'm pulling so hard for the damn first 4 appearance, because that gives them a legitimate shot to get that tournament. I heard someone say the other day, they were asking me, it's one thing to make the tournament, but at least UD wins when they get there. And I'm like, well, with all due respect, they do. They do. There's no doubt about it. And I don't know what that has to do with Wright State. Yes, it's not just getting there. Coach Nagy even said it in the post game the other day. This is great getting there, but eventually he just wants it to be to where it's not, you're not hoping to get there. You're expected to get there and you start winning in the dang thing. Like, that's what he's wanting. That's what the program wants. That's what everyone wants. But at the same time, to sit there and look at Wright State when only 1 16th seed in the history of the NCAA tournament has ever knocked off a number 1 seed. Mm-hmm. How are you going to look at Wright State as a 16th seed if they do go on to face one of the ones and they get smacked? And then you're going to have people making their dumb little comments like, well, they need to win when they get there. Well, again, to have the 16 versus 1 seed expectations versus, you know what I mean? You know what I mean by that? Like, to sit there and hold that when UD falls anywhere between a 7 and 11 seed on average, that's not the same. You can't, it's apples to oranges at that point.
I'm with you 100%, man. Like, people that just try to nitpick every single little thing about the whole Wright State UD thing, man. Like, I can't get invested in that, man. Wright State has punched their ticket to March Madness, and UD has an opportunity. And like you talked about earlier this week, this could be the first time that both schools make it to the tournament in the same year. And I'm rooting for that to happen.
I don't know. I don't know if UD's getting it. I mean, we can't just let Wright State have one damn little day for their own attention.
No.
Like,
we can't.
Even Joe Lenardi yesterday, man, I imagine Xavier versus UD with Wright State as part of the opener. No, forget that. UD may not make the damn tournament. Wright State is in the tournament, and they're going to end up playing a game on UD's floor. Right. And how ironic would it be that in a season that Dayton doesn't make the NCAA tournament, Wright State does. They get a game on UD's home floor, and they get a win on their home floor. I'd get a huge kick out of that. There's a lot I would really enjoy about that as far as that's concerned. Let's see. So Doug Toby on Facebook says, so what's everybody's opinion on March Madness? Does NCAA do it right where a team or two with RPI of 50 don't get in, but 3 or 4 teams with a 175 RPI do get in? Thoughts? I've said this a million times about college sports, Doug, to be fair. I don't think there's such thing as fair in anything in college athletics, period. This is why when we get so heated about the college football playoff, Kev, when people, I guess you're just putting your headset back on. Let me repeat this. So Doug Toby asks, so what's everybody's opinion on March Madness? Does the NCAA do it right? Where a team or two with, say, an RPI of 50, even though we don't use RPI anymore, it's the net, but your point's still valid. Let's just say it's a net. I'll replace RPI with net. Let's say a net ranking of 50 don't get in, but 3 or 4 teams with the 175 net ranking do get in. Thoughts? Well, that happens because of the auto bids, the auto qualifiers.
Right.
And I've always said that to talk about what's fair in college athletics, there's no such thing as fair. There's nothing fair about it. I've watched teams in the Horizon League win 29 games and not getting that large bid, not even be a bubble team, not even be on one of those first 4, next 4, final 4, whatever, 3, 4, 5. I don't know, whatever you want to call it. Like, there's nothing ever fair about college athletics, period. The college football playoff. Well, 4 teams isn't right. They need 8. They need 12. Okay, well, it's still not fair. The MAC will never, ever, ever in the history of its existence win a national championship in college football. Never will. But yet they're Division I. They have everyone likes to think they have just as fair a shot as everyone. It's not fair. Even if you go to 24 teams in the college football playoff, it's still not fair. It's not fair. So the NCAA tournament, is it fair? It seems more fair, Kev, because 68 teams get in. How many? 300 plus teams or whatever, 350 plus teams. It's more fair than the college football playoff. I get that. But to say that it's, college football playoff's not fair, you can't say something's not fair when there's no such thing as fair. I don't know what a fair tournament is in the NCAA tournament. What is fair? I think this is as close to fair as you can get. You at least have what percent of 350 plus, 68 teams. That's still a decent percent of teams making it every year. Plus you have a shot. The little guys don't have a shot. Bowling Green, Miami of Ohio, they don't have a shot of ever making the college football playoff. The Wright States of the world Wright State has a better shot at winning a national championship in college basketball than Bowling Green does of even making the college football playoff in college football. So I'd say this is as close to fair as you can get when it comes to college athletics. I don't think anyone does it fair, but to be fair, I don't think there is a fair way to do it.
I think I heard the word fair about 1,000 times, but I understand your point. I definitely understand your point. Like, there's no perfect way to do this when there's so many teams. There's so many teams out there. And I've always said this is probably the most exciting, but I don't think it's the most fair way to pick a champion. Like, you throw everybody in a pot and just teams play each other. I've always said, like, if you change one bracket, you put Duke on the East and flip-flop them with UCLA and play it again, you get a totally different outcome. And I mean, that's why we love it, because it's so random. It's so random and so many outcomes. That's why we love this thing. We get this big bracket, we fill it out, we get our highlighters, and we see how many games we get right. If you're a gambling person and you got an office pool and everything like that, shouts out to our Bracket Madness. Going to be posted here within the hour. You fill out this and you have a ton of fun with it. So it's magical, man. March Madness is something that you don't even have to watch college basketball. I remember our guy that used to work here, Mike Collins, he picked the mascots and he came in 3rd place. Like, he could care less about sports. He wasn't a sports guy. He just picked, I like this mascot better, and came in 3rd place and came away with the money. While I watched a ton of college basketball and came in like in 20th place. It's so random.
Yep. I mean, like I said, there's nothing fair about it. You want to talk about the net rankings or RPI or whatever, but net is the number one metric that's used, or at least they say that. But, say, it's not fair that 175 gets in and people in the 50 don't get in. I'm assuming that's referencing the fact that Wright State, I don't think it's a coincidence, the numbers he used, because Wright State ranks like 170 something with the net, and UD's around 50 in the net, and UD may not get in and Wright State gets in. And is that fair? Well, was it fair last year when Wright State was top 60 in the net ranking and UD was 120 or whatever, and yet they got the NIT bid because, well, they have more fans? Like I said, there's nothing fair about anything.
Right.
Wright State has actually had a higher net ranking than UD. And I think like 2 of the last 5 years, which may not seem like a lot, but that is when you try to convince me that the gap between the two is so wide. It's wide, but it's not like unsurmountable if you really want to put it that way. But hey, bottom line is this is a good problem to have. I'm not going to lie. About a month ago, I didn't think we'd be talking about either of these teams in the NCAA tournament, much less both teams potentially in the NCAA tournament. So I'm not complaining.
Hashtag both.
And I will say this. Can you imagine, though, a first four that would have that? Like if Wright State played the 16 seed matchup first and UD in the 12 seed matchup second. You know, would the first four put them on the floor on the same night? You see what I'm saying? Like, and by the way, people don't understand how the first four works. Just because you're a first four team does not mean you're a 16 seed. And it doesn't mean that everyone's equal. Like, I keep getting this, like, man, do you really think that they'll put Wright State and UD together? I'm like, you mean like against one another? No, that's not how it works. UD will, if they make the first four, they're a 12 seed. So they would face another 12 seed to, in essence, move on to the, you know, as far as that,
12,
Wright State would play a 16. So no, they wouldn't play one another, but there's 2 nights of the first four.
Yeah.
Do you think they put Wright State first on Tuesday and UD second on Tuesday, or do you kind of keep them separate, right? If UD makes the first four.
I like it all on the same night. Like it all on the same night.
I don't, because I don't want to hear the stupid JV varsity comments, because I already know where that's heading. So I don't want that. I want Wright State on the one. I just don't want them to play on the same night. I want them to be separate.
The headliner.
Mm-hmm.
The Flyers are the headliner, man. Come on, Kenner. We know that.
No, the 12 seed's the headliner. It's not so much that, I'm just, is what it is. But 518-1410, Kev, who we got?
We got Will line 2.
Will, how are you, sir?
How are you guys doing today?
Good.
Good. Yourself?
Doing all right. Driving through town, listening to you guys' show. It's funny you guys talking about the, like the first four.
Uh-huh.
And, you guys are talking about what's fair in the tournament. And, there is something pure about March Madness that we all love. The fact that, a great team can go down in the blink of an eye in an upset. But I do think, something that I like about the way the tournament is now is that a lot of these first four games, I'm listening to, I was driving through the Midwest earlier today, and they're talking about, Michigan being a first four team with what they've done this year. And I would like to see the selection committee and the tournament cater that more towards mid-major schools, like you're talking earlier about, 27-win teams that maybe don't win their conference tournament. I think that would be much, much better, in my opinion, than just kind of letting in the UCLAs and the Michigans when those schools have down years, just to make sure that they get those TV ratings. I don't know if you guys have any thoughts about that.
No, and that's a valid point, too. And again, this is one of those things where the bracket's manipulated based on ratings and ticket sale opportunities, because technically the bracket doesn't make any sense. Like I'm having a hard time understanding the purpose of the first four, like living in Dayton. I love that it exists and that it's here. But if I'm living outside of Dayton, I'm just going to be honest, I think the concept of it's just kind of silly. I mean, you already have 68 teams or 64 teams. You expanded it to 68. I don't know why you have to go the first four route, if you will, you're in the NCAA tournament, but you have to play an NCAA tournament game to get into the NCAA tournament. That's why they don't call it the play-in tournament anymore. It's the first four. They branded it different. But I'm with you on that, Will. Like the 12 seed matchup doesn't make sense. It's, for me as a consumer, that's going to make me sprint to the, to get my tickets a lot sooner, because those 12, you get your Michigans, you get your bigger teams, that your UCLA that you talked about, playing in that. But what's the purpose? If you're a 12 seed, that means you're pretty damn good, and you shouldn't have to be playing in to get to anything. So I'm with you on that. I just find the concept kind of silly, but as a consumer, I will buy the tickets to that here in Dayton every year.
Right. Yeah. You guys host it every year, the first four?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
All right. I did not know that.
Where are you from, Will? Where are you from?
Cool. I go to school at University of Virginia.
Oh, wow. So you just traveling through the area, or what? What brings you here?
Yeah, I'm
You're getting the tickets to watch that Wright State 16 seed matchup. That's what you're doing.
You're damn right. I'll be back in town for that. That's for sure. I don't know if my UVA is going to make it to the tournament this year. We'll see tonight. They play North Carolina. I think that's kind of a do or die for them. But yeah, I'm just driving through town, heading back to school. So.
All right, well, man, hey, safe travels, and we appreciate that you called.
Yep. Thank you, guys. Have a good day.
518-1410. See, people that don't live in Dayton, they're a lot nicer to me than people that live in Dayton. I always like, what's he going to say? What'd I say that's wrong now? Everything. But shout out to Will. Safe travels again.
Absolutely. Tony Bennett and the Cavaliers got the Tar Heels tonight in the ACC tournament. 9:30 tip-off.
North Carolina feeling themselves after they ruined the whole Coach K. Dude, that was pretty funny. I'm not going to lie. Like, And I don't understand the hatred. I do understand the hatred for Coach K, but like the venom on Twitter about Coach K is kind of annoying. Like, he's one of the best, if not the best college basketball coach ever. Like, what are you doing? Like, what? Oh, because he cheated? Let me guess. If you're an Ohio State fan, you think Ohio State hasn't never cheated on anything? The coaches you worship? I just find anytime you dislike a coach because you think they cheat, you're a hypocrite. Because the coach you follow, I promise you, cheats. I promise you. I swear on a stack of Bibles that they do. Ryan Day has probably cheated. Anthony Grant has probably cheated. I'll get in trouble for this, but I got to make sure I keep it, even so I don't get too much. Even at Wright State, maybe there's some rules that have been bent there.
Never.
Right? Everyone cheats. It's college athletics. It's the most pure thing ever. Like, let's just be real. Oh, I hate Coach K because he's colored his hair black for 3 years or 30 years? Like, what? What is it about Coach K you don't like? Because he's better than, because he's coaches better than your coach? Like, what? What is it about Coach K that you don't like? I'm not a Syracuse fan, but I love Coach Boeheim, even though I make my jokes from time to time.
Goodness gracious.
What
did you think
I
about
nailed that one yesterday.
What did you think about Coach K scolding his team after they lost the game? On the microphone.
Too. You lost our last game. You lost my game. This is my game. I'm Coach K.
Hushing the crowd. Man.
But that did signify the game's not passed you by, but like it's time to go. When you're pissed off at your fans for being loud, I mean that's a sign right.
Be quiet.
There, but yeah.
Dang, like he let his age out right there, man. Like, dude.
I know. It'd be like, excuse me, sir. We peed in water bottles for the last 2 nights camping out to witness this game, spent $5,000 on tickets, and you're telling me to be quiet, but you be quiet. But yeah, the venom that was coming about Coach K, I just got a huge kick out of that. It just didn't make any sense. Forrest says because he's Duke's coach, that's why.
There it is.
But I mean, I get that, but like, it's just weird. Like, we do that to everybody. Like, everyone, and this is why, if social media was around, MJ would have been hated. Every top athlete, every top coach, who's beloved that's great? Who? I don't know. I mean, Tiger Woods.
Not no more. People don't love him no more.
Well, he won that Masters. Everyone jumped back on the Tiger Woods. Tiger Woods, y'all. Everyone jumped back on the Tiger Woods bandwagon. But, like, we have this habit of if they're great, we hate them. You hate them because you ain't them. That's basically what it is. It's what it comes down to. It really is. It's so strange to me. Forrest must be a UNC basketball fan. Kev, who we have? 518-1410.
We have Tim, line 3.
What up, Tim? Thanks for holding. How are you?
Hey, no problem. Hey, Justin. All right, man. You sold me. I enjoyed listening to that last guest you had. I'm going to go out and buy a Wright State hat, but you got to tell me. I mean, I live in Kettering, so I know all the places on Brown Street. I know old-timers like me, they pack into G's, and everybody's wearing red sweaters. And maybe you can't see it on the air, but where do all the Wright State fans, where are we going to go and watch a game and whoop it up?
Oh, you go right over.
You can't say me.
What?
Go ahead.
No, what were you going to say?
And if you can't say, maybe some of the your callers can call and say, hey, this is where the Wright State crowd goes. This is where you go wear the green and gold. And I've got plenty of green and gold to wear.
I was going to say, that's an easy that's a transformation for you. That's pretty dang easy being a Packers fan, right?
Just got to get that Wright State hat. Got to get that.
I tell you what, Milano's is a great spot to go. Milano's, they have a ton of Wright State watch parties. That's an excellent spot to go over in Beaver Creek.
Oh, the one in Beaver Creek. Yeah, I'm thinking down there in Brown Street. I say, okay, yeah.
I don't think they're going to go to Brown Street to watch Wright State games. They're just throwing that out there. Yeah.
No, okay, yeah, Beaver Creek Milano's. All right. Hey, well, good show. And one other question for you, because I haven't been paying that much attention. I've been focused on Devontae Adams and Aaron Rodgers. But where's Wright State's projection to be seated at?
Right now, all the bracketologists and prognosticators out there have them as a 16 seed, most likely playing here in Dayton. Next Tuesday night could potentially be playing here in Dayton at UD Arena. How ironic would that be?
No, that'd be pretty cool, and especially if they won on that floor, wouldn't that be big?
That would be big
on that floor and win.
Yep, you win, and congratulations. Now you got to go play a 1 seed.
Hey, you never know, man. Well, I'm going to get out there to Milano. Thanks, you guys.
Hey, so Chad Kinster said W.O. Wrights is another one. So there you go.
Oh, okay, that's out there in Fairborn.
Yep.
Or Beaver Creek too. Okay, all right, yeah, nice. All right, well, those are the places I'm going to be going. Thanks, guys.
All right, take care. Thank you, Tim. Yeah, someone said you can go to. Yeah, someone said you can go to Tootie's. I wouldn't go to Tootie's if you want to go hang out with like all the. I mean, if
you're above 25, I wouldn't go to Tootie's.
That's what I'm saying. I had to watch how I worded that because I'm like, oh, that sounds like I'm crapping on Tootie's. No, I spent a lot of great years at Tootie's.
Good times, but might want to age out of that. I don't think that's Tim's crowd.
But that's what I was trying to say. I wasn't trying to be like rude. I'm like, well, you're too old to go to Tootie's, but that's basically what I was going to say. But that sounded rude.
That's why I'm on the show. I do want to balance it. Yeah. I do want to shout this out. The watch party for Wright State is going down Sunday at 5:00. So doors open up at 5. Obviously, it's going to be in the Wright State Student Union. Inviting everybody out. It's absolutely free. The event starts at 6. Doors open up at 5:00. Wright State watch party for the selection show.
All right, there you go. Again, this Sunday, Student Union, 6:00. It's free, so make sure you guys go and support. Check that out. Pretty jacked up about that. 518-1410, the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash. Hour 3 next.
Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, presented by Brad Mays with Home Experts Realty. Weekdays at 3 p.m. on 1410 ESPN Radio.
Today on Hey Culligan, sustainability and better water. Here's Sam.
Hey Culligan, I'm really into sustainability. My clothes, my utensils, my food. But how do I get more sustainability from my water?
Super question, Sam. And the answer is an always-on drinking water system from Culligan, which helps eliminate the equivalent of 15 billion single-use plastic bottles a year.
Whoa, that's a ton of sustainability.
416,000 tons, Sam, and we're already on the way. Let us help you out with a free in-home water test with the local Culligan water expert at Culligan.com.
Research shows people remember radio ads that remind them of the past. So to help you remember that Liberty Mutual Insurance Company customizes your home insurance so you only pay for what you need, here's an ad that'll really take you back.
Back in my day, I heard a voice from the radio say, Liberty Mutual customizes my home insurance so I only pay for what I need. I'm getting on in years now, but heavens to Betsy, there are some things an old fella like me just never forgets.
Only pay for what you need at libertymutual.com.
Liberty, 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 liberty.
Why? Just think about it. Why is the #1 selling brand of chainsaws not sold at Lowe's or the Home Depot? We can give you over 10,000 reasons. That's how many authorized local steel dealers you can find across the country. Visit one and you'll find a range of dependable gas and battery-powered tools, from trimmers to blowers. And you'll find service from experienced professionals. Real Steel. Find yours at steelusa.com. Lowe's and Home Depot are trademarks of their respective companies.
Just 3 words tell you everything you need to know. They tell you why we employ more than 2,000 workers at our factory in Virginia Beach, and why over 10,000 local steel dealers are putting battery power in the hands of Americans. Just 3 words. Made in America. Real Steel. Find yours at steelusa.com. The majority of steel products sold in America are made in America of U.S. and foreign materials. Batteries and chargers are sourced internationally.
Hey everyone, this is Rudy with Ohio Can. Did you know there are more than 200,000 young people in Ohio being raised by grandparents, relatives, and close friends, kinship, and adoptive families? Sound like you? If so, we want to say thank you. You are amazing. We also want you to know the entire team at Ohio Can Kinship and Adoption Navigator program is here for you. Have questions about childcare, education, finances, or more? Ohio Can help. Remember the K for kinship and call 1-844-OHIO-KAN or visit ohiokan.org to learn more.
Want to find out what handheld perfection tastes like? Just stop by Lee's Famous Recipe Chicken today for a flawless family feast with the 12-piece strips meal at a great price. Get 12 premium tenderloins that are freshly marinated, honey-dipped, hand-breaded, and cooked to crispy perfection, along with 3 large sides, 6 fluffy biscuits, and 4 of your favorite Lee sauces. This is dippable chicken done right. Get the best in boneless chicken with the 12-piece strips meal at a great price. Only at Lee's, famous for chicken.
Get in zone, AutoZone.
Welcome to AutoZone, America's #1 brakes destination. Right now, save 15% when you get any 2 Duralast rotors with a set of Duralast brake pads. It's also AutoZone's national hiring event. We're hiring all positions, from sales to warehouse and drivers, both part-time and full-time. Visit careers.autozone.com or any one of our stores.
Get in zone, AutoZone.
Claim based on data from the NPD Group 2021.
I need 4 more of the biscuit carnitas, 2 burnt end platters, 3...
The kitchen at Kai's Barbecue is firing on all cylinders.
Greg, help me bring these to the pickup counter.
He needs food runners who can hit the ground quickly.
86 on the chicken and we're short-staffed. Let's pick it up.
Indeed can help him hire great people fast.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. Instant Match instantly connects you with quality candidates whose resumes on Indeed match your sponsored job description. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get $75 towards your first sponsored job. Terms and conditions apply.
Spending more time at home? There has never been a better time to invest in your home. There is nothing better than a home theater or high-fidelity music system from Audio Etc. Can't watch your favorite basketball team in person? No problem. Audio Etc. can bring any game home. It's better than being there. You have to see it to believe the incredible quality of the picture and sound. 4K is amazing, but just imagine the 8K experience. Come to Audio Etc. today and experience 8K TVs and projectors. Surround sound? You haven't heard surround sound till you hear Dolby Atmos 360 degrees. It puts you smack dab in the middle with 11.2 channel surround sound. Audio Etc. has the brands, the deals, and the excitement. Audio Etc. powered by Klipsch, Bowers & Wilkins, SVS, Marantz, Denon, Sony, and a whole list of high-performance brands that you've probably never heard of. Audio Etc. 551 Congress Park Drive at the corner of Paragon and Centerville, or call 434-9770.
Audio Etc's crazy cool showroom.
Would you like to work at a fun casual joint? Here at Roosters, we really are a family. And at Roosters, our team members have the chance to grow their career and have fun while they do it. We're excited to announce the opening of a new Roosters in Beaver Creek. If you're energetic, friendly, with a positive attitude, Roosters is the perfect career path for you. Apply online at roosterswings.com or stop by the Beaver Creek Roosters this Thursday or Saturday between noon and 6. Roosters, a fun, casual place to work.
Lance Roofing and Siding would like to remind you, daylight saving time begins this Saturday night at 2 a.m. It's time to spring forward an hour. A friendly reminder from your friends at Lance Roofing and Siding. Call for a free estimate on your roof before spring showers hit. Online at lanceroofing.com.
When it comes to your credit card, Discover believes in having real people available 24/7 to help answer your questions. Discover, exceptionally common sense.
Tip off to Frickin' Madness. When we say tip off, not only are we talking about every college basketball game available, but our new barbecue rib tips only at Frickers. Delicious bite-sized barbecue rib tips with your choice of dipping sauce. Every game played to the march to the national championship and domestic draft personal pictures for only $6.50. Tip that personal picture. Tip off to the national championship of college basketball and frickin' barbecue rib tips at the home for fun, food, sports, and spirits. Frickers.
Rob's Beer Barn is stocked with the newest seasonal beers and refreshments. That means Rob's Beer Barn has you covered for all your needs, including for the big basketball tournament and St. Patrick's Day parties. At Rob's, you can find all the ice-cold refreshments you'll need. Craft, imported, local, and seasonal beers, fine wines, snacks, and ice. Plus, Rob's has new apparel. Call, walk in, or drive through for last-minute items. Stock up today. Rob's Beer Barn on Indian Ripple Road at Darst, just a mile east of the Green. Rob's Beer Barn, just look for the beaver.
Amsoil, the #1 in synthetic lubricants since 1972. The Colonel here for Homestead Feed and Supply. Whether it's motorcycles, small engine, diesel, or high-performance gasoline, we got it. Come see us, Homestead Feed and Supply, 1833 North Dayton Lakeview Road, New Carlisle.
Cordell Transportation is now hiring Class A CDL drivers. $5,000 sign-on bonus. That's right, $5,000 sign-on bonus. Home daily dedicated lanes, no-touch freight. Apply today at CordellTransportation.com. Cordell Transportation, driven to succeed.
Timothy's Bar and Grill on Brown Street are huge supporters of the Dayton Flyers. Whether you're one of the 13,000 fans cheering on the Flyers at UD Arena or one of the hundreds of fans packed inside Tim's on game day, there is only two places that you can feel the passion of the Flyer faithful more than anywhere else. Timothy's Bar and Grill is also a sponsor of the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash in the afternoons and the Talking Out Loud Hour on Thursday nights with Sully. Timothy's Bar and Grill on Brown Street. Go Flyers.
Many Vietnam War veterans were unknowingly exposed to dangerous chemicals impacting their health and quality of life. There are now expanded benefits for veterans exposed to Agent Orange. Veterans with Parkinsonism, bladder cancer, or hypothyroidism who previously applied for VA disability compensation but were denied should reapply and might be eligible for retroactive compensation. Exposed veterans who have not yet applied should consider filing a new claim. For assistance, call Montgomery County Veterans Service Commission at 937-225 4801.
The Meyer Distribution Center in Tip City is hiring for warehouse positions in all units. Includes flexible schedules, best-in-class benefits, starting wages up to $18.60, and $2,000 sign-on bonus. Candidates can apply online at jobs.meyer.com. Keyword search distribution. Location Tip City, or call 937-669-9155. 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. Monday through Friday. Walk-in interviews are available with on-the-spot job offers. Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. Call 937-669-9155. Meyer is an equal opportunity employer.
Today on Hey Culligan, sustainability and better water. Here's Sam.
Hey Culligan, I'm really into sustainability. My clothes, my utensils, my food. But how do I get more sustainability from my water?
Super question, Sam. And the answer is an always-on drinking water system from Culligan, which helps eliminate the equivalent of 15 billion single-use plastic bottles a year.
Whoa, that's a ton of sustainability.
416,000 tons, Sam, and we're already on the way. Let us help you out with a free in-home water test with the local Culligan water expert at Culligan.com.
Research shows people remember radio ads that remind them of the past. So to help you remember that Liberty Mutual Insurance Company customizes your home insurance so you only pay for what you need, here's an ad that'll really take you back.
Back in my day, I heard a voice from the radio say, Liberty Mutual customizes my home insurance so I only pay for what I need. I'm getting on in years now, but heavens to Betsy, there are some things an old fella like me just never forgets.
Only pay for what you need at libertymutual.com.
Liberty, 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 liberty.
Would you like to work at a fun casual joint? Here at Roosters, we really are a family. And at Roosters, our team members have the chance to grow their career and have fun while they do it. We're excited to announce opening of a new Roosters in Beaver Creek. If you're energetic, friendly, with a positive attitude, Roosters is the perfect career path for you. Apply online at roosterswings.com or stop by the Beaver Creek Roosters this Thursday or Saturday between noon and 6. Roosters, a fun, casual place to work.
When it comes to your credit card, Discover believes in having real people available 24/7 to help answer your questions. Discover. Exceptionally common sense.
Hey everybody, it's Stephen A. Smith, and everyone knows my feelings on Cowboys fans. But really, Justin Kenner, you're a Cowboys fan and a Browns fan? Good Lord have mercy. I don't know what the hell to do with y'all. I really don't.
It's the Justin Kenner Show with Kev Nash. Weekdays from 3 to 6 p.m. on 1410 ESPN Radio.
All right, good news, baseball fans. Baseball is officially back. That's right. Major League Baseball and the Major League Baseball Players Association finally got their heads out of their beep and decided to, you know that thing we get paid billions and millions of dollars to do. Maybe we should, do that. Like, maybe we should go play. Sounds like a pretty good idea to me, right? Well, they agreed. And finally, and I got the number. It was 99 days, the lockout. They were locked out for 99 days. We had Jesse Rogers on last week, and the one thing I kept hearing about this whole debacle, but the back and forth, that remember, the owners locked us out. They're the ones that took the season from you. You clearly don't understand how negotiations work, because negotiations, you have to have leverage. The best way to get what you want in anything in life is you have to have leverage. You have to have the upper hand in a situation. And what you don't want to do is to give up leverage. And the league would have been foolish to not lock the players out, because you want to know what was going to happen if the league didn't lock the players out. Do you really think that the players would be, wrapping their mitts with the rubber band and putting oil on it, putting it in the oven, preparing for the season and practicing and getting ready? No. You know what they would have done? They would have done what I did in bowling. They'd strike.
Still right?
Yeah, you were taking a drink when I asked that. My bad. Set you up for failure. Like, anyone out there that actually thinks that the league was wrong for locking the players out, like, you do realize if they didn't do that the players would just have gone on strike. The players would have said, you're going to give us what I want, or I'm not stepping foot out on that field. You know who has leverage in that situation? The players. So the league said, we're going to lock you out. You know why the league did that? So they had leverage. It's really not that hard to figure out. Both sides were full of crap. Both sides finally agreed. I haven't looked at exactly where the breaking. I haven't been able to decipher what the final CBA looks like. Over the coming days, you'll hear from people about who won. It doesn't matter who won. Like, remember what I told you, Kev? Everyone spent so much time. Oh, the poor players. Oh, the owners. And I'm like, screw both of them. Because at the end of the day, the only ones that got impacted by this were us. We didn't get to watch spring training. How many of our listeners, and I know a lot, they go to spring training every year. They had their flights paid for, their hotels paid for, all of that. Some people are having to get reimbursed with credits as opposed to actually getting their money back. And it's just a big mess. Do you think millionaire Chris Bryant, do you think millionaire Joey Votto, do you think all these rich fools give two rips about Sandy and going to Arizona and having her whole trip ruined because of the egos? No, they don't care. That's what I kept saying. At the end of the day, this was all going to resolve itself. The billionaires would remain billionaires and continue, going on their yachts and owning 55 homes, and the poor, deprived players would only have 20 homes instead of 40 homes like the billionaires, and they would only have maybe a catamaran instead of an actual big old yacht. Like, oh, poor players. No one like that's why I'm saying you guys are fools that actually sat there and said, I'm with the players. Well, you're a moron, because you know what? The players don't care about you. And this is what happened. This is exactly what I said was going to happen. The players remain rich. The owners remain rich. And you got screwed out of baseball and your spring training plans and opening day parade in Cincinnati. And the season just seems kind of now. Like, you're excited. I'm excited. But at the end of the day, like, everything happened that I said was going to happen. Players rich. Owners rich. You're an idiot because you're like, I'm taking a side. Don't take a side. There's no need to take a side. It just doesn't make any sense. That makes any sense.
Kenner's on a warpath, even though baseball is back.
It is back. And you can catch it all season long right here on Dayton's home of the Cincinnati Reds, 1410 ESPN Radio. Now's the time for all the support you gave the players. Will Jonathan India and Joey Votto call up random Tim? No, last caller was Tim. Maybe not that Tim, but if your name is Tim or Eric or Molly or Sarah or whoever, and you were, or Will, and you were poor players, I'm on the side of the players. I really hope that you get a call from one of those players. I really hope so. I hope that Joey Votto calls you and says, man, how's work going? You need a shoulder to cry on? I appreciate you having my back during the lockout. Respect. No, they're like, hey, make sure you buy my jersey. Make sure you buy, make sure you vote for me during the All-Star game. But if you need something from me, you got to go to Reds Fest or somewhere to see me. I don't care about you. They don't care about you. You don't care about them on a personal level. You know what I care about? What they do with the bat in their hand. As long as they ain't killing somebody with it, keep putting that damn bat on the ball, put the ball in play, knock it out of the ballpark, do what you got to do. I know you're going to bunt with it, so just do what you got to do. But, I don't know why that gets under my skin more than anything else. When people try to over-romanticize the players, like, oh, man, you do it, Kev. I'm sorry to throw you in the fire, but I was like, oh, crap, where I'm taking this, I forgot that's you.
That's me.
But look, to over-romanticize the players, like if you're going through something with your job, Kev, when's the last time, who's your favorite player in any sport?
Allen Iverson.
Okay, how's he doing? What did he say last when you talked to him?
Man, according to his Instagram, he's doing pretty good.
No. He don't check on you. He don't care about you. Why do you care about on them on a personal level? Not saying you have to root for bad things to happen to them. But no, with this baseball lockout, I was really amazed at how many people over-sympathize with the players to the point to where this is just wrong. Prayers to the players. I'm like, what happened to the play? Like, what's going on with the players? The lights turn out, the electricity turn out, like they got the car repoed. It's okay. They have 5 more. Like, they're fine.
Well, I'm not that extreme.
You're not that extreme. I know you're not.
I'm just a fan of the worker, the common working man. And in baseball senses, they are the workers and everything like that. Now, if I'd be out here crying Argentina because they're missing a couple $1 million or a couple game checks, absolutely not. Do I want my baseball? Am I super excited to see my Cleveland Guardians and see if we're going to spend some big money because we got some more investors in the team and everything like that? Are we going to be still a good pitching team? Am I excited to wear my new garb? Am I excited to go back to my hometown and go to a game this year? Absolutely. And baseball is back, and I can't wait to see my team.
So now again, both sides have finally agreed on a CBA. Let's play ball, right? With that being said, it has to be ratified or whatever. I'm saying that word like I know what the hell it is.
I was just about to ask you, what does that actually mean?
Well, it means that's what I'm going to sound like Kamala Harris right here. I'm going to say, it's the thing they got to do to get to the next thing. and then stare at the camera blankly. That's what that's what I'm doing here. But no, once they said around 6 o'clock the deal will be ratified or whatever. Doesn't matter. The point is around 6 o'clock, I guess, is here in 45 minutes. It's going to be free agent signing galore. Teams could start reporting to spring training tomorrow, folks. Like by this weekend, I think is when the mandatory date is to get there. So Doug Toby, shout out to Doug on Facebook, Kev, he sends in, what about Nick Castellanos? He hasn't signed with anybody yet, has he? Actually, he's not even the second, third, or fourth biggest name that hasn't signed with anybody. Doug, like we talked about this earlier in the show, here are some names that have yet to sign with the club, and yet these guys are supposed to report to spring training tomorrow. And imagine this. Listen to these names. These names don't even know where they're playing yet this season. And to act like a deal is going to get done tonight, like these agents, and I'm sure that they've been dealing with stuff behind the scenes, even though they're not supposed to. Okay. Carlos Correa has yet to sign a deal. All right. The Rangers were rumored for Carlos Correa, but they've already spent, I believe, like $500 million combined before the lockout going to get Corey Seager, Marcus Semien, Javier, the Tigers. They signed Javier Baez. So a lot of these, guys have been swooped up. I don't know what the market's going to be for Carlos Correa. How about Freddie Freeman? Most likely will end up staying with the Atlanta Braves just due to the fact that, you have to make a decision. You have to make a decision quickly. Freddie Freeman's still available. Chris Bryant, who was traded from the Cubs at the trade deadline last season. Trevor Story, who the Reds have been in on that name for quite some time. I mean, remember the All-Star game was in Colorado last year, and all everyone could talk about was the fact that Story had played his final appearance, at Coors Field or whatever the heck the field's called now, was in that All-Star game, and that the Reds were rumored to potentially be the team that goes to grab him. They haven't got him yet, but he's available. He's a free agent. He's available. And he could be impacted by some of the other top shortstops that have already been taken off the market. What will the demand be for a Trevor Story? Everyone can use a Trevor Story, but is the demand to pay him going to be there? I don't think so. Nick Castellanos, Kyle Schwarber. All right. Go down to Anthony Rizzo, Jorge Soler. Clayton Kershaw, Zach Greinke, Jonathan Villar. Nelson Cruz, Danny Duffy. You go down this list, and these names are big names, Kev, that aren't on a team yet. And they got to report to training camp or spring training as early as tomorrow. Well, have to, but they can start. Mm-hmm. That's crazy to me. But we knew this was going to be just an absolute brawl to start everything off. And at least that's going to add some entertaining. This might be what saves it, though. Yeah. Because right now, if all of these players had signed to teams, I've forgotten that some of these guys already signed. Like, I'm not going to lie. Like, I actually forgot that we had seen some of these guys like Corey Seager, Marcus Semien. I forgot that Javier Baez signed with the Tigers. I forgot all about all that. Mm-hmm. So what this does is now everyone has a bad taste in their mouth when it comes to baseball right now. Even though it's back, it's exciting. I think everyone's still a little salty about it still. But you know what's going to happen? That 6 o'clock time hits, and all you're going to start seeing now is, boom, Mets signed this guy. Reds signed Castellanos. Schwarber goes to the Yankees. Schwarber goes back to the Cubs. Now with the Cardinals. Those headlines will now take over sports shows, and I think that's going to be the start to the healing process as far as the trust factor that's been broken a little bit with the fan base. I've never once thought that this would kill baseball. I just thought that it made them look really, really bad, and it was unnecessary. But I think that these big names might save baseball by not signing with teams already, because for the next 2 to 3 days heading into Selection Sunday, where they'll be forgot again, it'll all be about these free agent signings. And I think that that's a good thing for baseball, because not a whole lot of good has happened to them. This could save them. Freddie Freeman, Chris Bryant, Trevor Story, Nick Castellanos, Kyle Schwarber, Carlos Correa, Freddie Freeman, if I haven't said that name already. Those are big names that have yet to sign, that once they sign, that'll take over the sports news cycle, and we'll forget about this stupid 99-day Major League Baseball lockout.
Player movement helps the sport. Player movement keeps the fans interested to see where their favorite player is going to be playing. And like you said, this quick turnaround, because obviously they got to get down to spring practice and everything like that. It's going to be a flood. The ticker is going to be fully loaded as soon as they ratify it. And according to the Google's, ratify basically means sign.
Oh, see? Why can't they just say sign? No damn thesaurus, just trying to get through the lockout lingo, mumbo jumbo.
Signed and approved.
Or what have you.
To make offer valid.
Well, there you go. Why can't you just say that? What's so hard about that? But no, that's a good thing. And again, April 7th is the new targeted opening day. The Reds technically the first 2 series of the season are the only series that were canceled, if you will, from the original deadline that was not met as far as having a deal done. So with that being said, if that schedule sticks, if they stick to that schedule, the Reds will open up on April 7th against the Atlanta Braves at Atlanta. But that's not the case. I guess they are reworking schedules right now. I would assume that the Reds will open up at home. Will they take, so here's what I'm saying. All the series that were canceled, Kev, will they just take those and make those the official opening day schedules again? And then the series that everyone was supposed to open up with, that'll be the series that's pushed back to a later time. Like, I don't know what's going to happen here. That'll be the interesting part as far as I'm concerned. So we'll see what happens. But either way, I don't care. I don't care who the Reds play. I don't care where they play. I'm just glad it's back. And to be honest, within a month, I can't wait to be back at Great American Ballpark. I'll tell you that much.
Reds on the radio.
Right here on Dayton's home of the Cincinnati Reds, 1410 Wing AM. All right, so we do have Ohio State basketball coming up later on tonight. They play at 9 o'clock, Big Ten tournament. We'll highlight that matchup coming up here in a moment. Again, like I said earlier, it's interesting when you think about Ohio State and some of these teams that play in these bigger conferences. Like, you don't have to win your conference tournament to make the NCAA tournament. So, where's the urgency? What's the fun and all that? Like, it's fun to watch your team play, don't get me wrong, but at the end of the day, I'll take the mid-major conference tournaments any day, because when you're watching the NCAA tournament already. Like Wright State, the second they stepped foot out on that floor, technically at the Nutter Center against Oakland last week in the quarterfinal, that was a tournament game, because had they lost that, their season's done.
Right.
It was win or stay home. Instead of win or go home, it was win or stay home. Well, that's basically what's going to happen, possibly at the first 4 next week. Dayton, it's either win or, we'll see what happens.
I love the conference tournaments and, just the pride of winning a conference tournament. And also, you got to think about it from this perspective. Like, we see so many upsets. We see the 12-5 upset. We even saw, MBCU beat Virginia and the 16-1. You better try to go win your conference title, because guess what? There's nothing guaranteed about winning the national championship. There's nothing guaranteed about making a Final Four run. So if there's a championship out there to be had, you should go for it.
So 518-1410, 518-1410. That's the number to call and jump in on the conversation. Indiana beat Michigan earlier, 74-69. Nice. Maryland, Michigan State will tip off at 6:30. Michigan State a 2-point favorite. Penn State, Ohio State. Ohio State's a 5.5-point favorite. That game tips off at 9 o'clock. Coverage begins right here on 1410 Wing AM at 8:15. So keep that in mind. Ohio State, the last time they were in the NCAA tournament, I shouldn't say last time, but just last year, they were one of the major upsets. They got upset by Oral Roberts. So that's what was interesting. But 518-1410, let's go to Matt. Matt, how are you, sir?
Hey, man, how are you?
Good. How are you, man? What you got for us?
Hey, I was just, the college basketball thing. I love Ohio State basketball just like football. And, when it comes to valuing it on a college basketball season, I prioritize a Big Ten regular season title as the biggest accomplishment of the year. Outside of that, I look at the Big Ten tournament. I want to win that. And then third would be a national championship for me, because it's really hard to win the national championship. You got to be on for 5 games. But I think winning the Big Ten regular season is almost harder to do than winning a national championship.
Oh, I wholeheartedly agree. It's a gauntlet, man. I mean, again, and a lot of these teams like Ohio State, they go above and beyond in their non-conference. I mean, they play Kentucky, they play Duke, they play like big teams. Like Ohio State plays in the best college basketball conference in the Big Ten. They could easily just say, we're not going to go hard in the non-con. We're just going to, we'll beat up on some of our local Ohio teams a little bit, and we'll challenge ourselves in the Big Ten. They're as battle tested, in November, December, before they even get to January, February. So I agree with you on that. It's so tough to win the regular season. Conference tournament, I never pull for my team to not win a conference tournament, but it's just like if Ohio State gets beat tonight, I'm not losing sleep about it. But I think they need to win tonight. I think they need to get a win or two, if not win it all for obvious reasons, just to take some momentum in, because they've had a little rough stretch here in the month of March, to close out February into March.
I tell you, I don't like the double bye. I liked the old Big Ten tournament before the double bye. I thought that was like a better tournament. I thought it was a better conference tournament in general. But, while I got you on the line, this is completely off subject, but I haven't got a chance to talk to you guys in a long time. And, I would like to hear Kevin's viewpoint on this. But is there any way that we could turn the nil rights into possibly somehow guys playing in the bowl games?
Oh, okay. I was confused.
You pronounced NIL as nil, and that might have been the coolest thing I've ever heard. I might start calling him nil. I'm not going to lie. All right, nil.
You get what I'm saying, though? Like, is there a way that we could offer, Mutual of Omaha could offer Chris Olave a little bit of cash or something? You know what I mean? And that guy's playing in the Rose Bowl. Like, is there any connections that we can make there? I was never a big fan of the whole playing the college players thing. But at this point, it is what it is. But can we somehow, use that to an advantage to maybe get those guys to play?
I don't think that the players will do it, because you talk about like, all right, man, we're going to give you, $5,000 to play in this bowl game. Well, is $5,000 worth me risking getting hurt and then potentially dropping from a top 15 pick to a second round pick? That's going to cost me millions for this. Thousands.
But I don't think that's a terrible idea, and I'm wondering if it does come down to that in the near future, only because that's a good point. If I'm if I'm a sponsor of one of these bowl games and I'm paying good money for a good bowl game, and now a player is sitting out to make the matchup a little less interesting, like who's the running back from Michigan State, Kev? It was Michigan and Walker. Michigan State and Pitt. And obviously Pickett sat out of that game, and then Walker sat out of that game. And I don't know who the sponsor of that bowl game was. Let's just say it was Tostitos or something. What would stop it? If I'm them, I'm definitely for reaching out to Pickett's, his agents or whatever. And same thing with Walker. All right, what do you guys need? What do we need to pay you to play in this ball game? I don't think you're that far off, Matt, but Kev's right too. They have to look at that and say, okay, money up front versus money long term. Is it worth it? I think you still might sway more people than not doing it that way, though. So who knows?
I mean, is it out of the question? I mean, I hate to say this, but is it out of the question for some big market place that needs an advertisement to give a guy $1 million on a bowl game? I mean, that's a really high number.
If you think about it, and I'd have to pull it up of how much money it is that these businesses are paying to sponsor these. I don't think it's that crazy to think that Tech $1 more million on again. It's easy for a poor guy like me to say, sure, Tech on another $1 million, but not all of us could be baseball owners and baseball players where we just have all this money.
I mean, if you went on the opposite scale and said, what if you dangled $50,000 in front of Chris Olave? Like, do you take that as a 21-year-old? You know what I'm saying? Like, it's interesting. So, but that's all I got for you, man. It's good to talk to you guys again. I'm super excited for college basketball. I think it's been great. A lot of the older players, I think, have made college basketball better this year. I hate that the ratings are down because people should be watching it. It's good, but I'll get at you guys.
All right, man. Good stuff. Thanks, Matt. Take care. You know what I hear a lot of, Kev, is a lot of people upset with Chris Holtmann.
Really?
Chris Holtmann has won 20 or more games every year since coming to Ohio State. This is year 4. And a win tonight would give them win number 20. In his very first year taking over for Thad Matta, went 25-9. All right. Ranked 17th in the country. Second year, 20-15 NCAA tournament appearance. Ranked 13th. In 2019-2020, Ohio State at one point was ranked second that year. No NCAA tournament that year technically, but they were heading to the NCAA tournament that year.
Right.
And I went as far as to say, and people got so mad at me, and I don't really care. UD was the number 3 team in the country, and I still think I would have picked Ohio State over UD had they played that year. I thought that Ohio State Ohio State got penalized for playing Big Ten team after Big Ten team after Big Ten team that year. I really wanted to see Ohio State and UD run into one another in the NCAA tournament, or Iowa and UD that year, just because of all the talk of, what was that, the player that Luka Garza, of course, the player of the year. That came down to him and Obi. Obi obviously deservedly so got the player of the year. Could have gone either way. But that Chris Holtmann, 21-10 last year. They were ranked 7th in the country, Kev. 19-10, they're ranked 13th right now. If they win tonight, they'll be the 5th straight year since coming to Ohio State. Chris Holtmann's been here for 5 years, by the way. That seems
time flies, bro.
I feel like Thad Matta was just here. 20 or more games and an NCAA tournament appearance in every year since taking over the Ohio State program. What more do you want? I know you want a national championship. I know you want Elite Eights and Final Fours. And I think that is fair. But I also think you got to be pretty understanding of where the program was whenever he took over.
Yeah.
And Thad Matta has shown what you could do with that program.
Mm-hmm.
I think Chris Holtmann needs to get to that point soon. What is the furthest he can go? I think a Sweet 16 appearance, he needs to get out of the first round.
Yeah, that's for sure.
He needs to get out of the first round. And I don't mean like get to the round of 32. Like I think a Sweet 16 appearance, it has to happen. But I think a tournament win, just even one this year, it kind of calms people down. But if you're actually out there, and I've seen people on social media do that, fire Holtmann and get who? And get who? When Thad Matta resigned, all right, everyone was upset. I was upset because everyone thought it would be Archie Miller. I wanted Archie Miller to be the next head coach at Ohio State. So glad that wasn't the case because it ended up being the best of both. It worked out better. Like it could not have worked out any better. 20 or more wins every season, top 25 every year. Tournament appearance every season, as I mentioned, 20 or more wins. Holtmann has done everything that he's supposed to since coming over from Butler. No clue why people are so negative when it comes to that. As far as that's concerned, I get it though. Eventually it's like, okay, but he does that a lot though. He gets big win. He'll beat the North Carolinas. He'll beat the Dukes. He'll beat the Kentuckys and the Kansases of the world. And then he'll lose to Nebraska and he'll lose to he'll have some tough losses down the stretch. So I get it, but you're going to slip up in conference play. You're not going to go unscathed through there. So I don't know. I just don't get why so many people are so down on Chris Holtmann because I think the job he has done in the best college basketball conference out there, I don't know what else you could expect from him as far as I'm concerned. Yes, it does come down to the NCAA tournament, but if you think you're going to move on from Chris Holtmann and find someone else that's going to take 20-win seasons, NCAA tournament appearances every year, and do more than that every year, I think you're mistaken. I think Chris Holtmann's the perfect coach for Ohio State right now.
It's as simple as this. You just touched on it. It's all about the tournament. The regular season don't matter. Your Malibu Madness tournaments don't matter. It is all about the NCAA tournament. The team that I follow, Syracuse. For the last decade, we've been a bubble team. But during this decade being a bubble team, they've made 2 Final Fours, Sweet 16 runs, Elite 8 runs, and everything like that. I mean, they went deep into the tournament one year when they were here in the first 4 and everything like that. So it's deemed as a successful season because they made a run when it quote unquote really counted. Well, the regular season was, man, they barely won 18 games. They were 18-11. They're on the bubble, but they made a deep tournament run. Everybody, oh man, what a year. What a year. We did it. No, we weren't. It's because we played that wacky zone defense. We got some good matchups and we won some games. And unfortunately, it's always and only about the tournament. So yes, Chris Holtmann is a great coach. I think he definitely needs at least a Sweet 16 run this year to get like the naysayers off his back, because it really is all about the tournament and how far you can go. And especially the amount of talent that he's bringing into Ohio State. You know, you touched on it with Thad Matta, like the talent wasn't elite level anymore. You know, he got one elite guy in his last couple years, and D'Angelo Russell and everything like that. But, you know, he was in the running for Ben Simmons because, you know, D'Angelo and Ben Simmons played high school basketball together. He was in the running for him, but almost doesn't count in recruiting and everything like that. So with the talent that Ohio State has, they need to make a deeper run in the tournament. So I would definitely expect them, or they need to make a Sweet 16 run for people to kind of relax.
518-1410, 518-1410. That's the number to call and jump in on the conversation. But a big one tonight, Ohio State, Penn State, 9 o'clock the tip-off, 8:15 coverage begins right here on Dayton's home of Ohio State football and basketball, 1410 Wing AM. Again, keep that in mind, 9 o'clock the tip-off later on tonight. Yesterday, we caught up with the voice of the Wright State Raiders, Chris Collins, who was on the call, along with former Wright State coach Jim Brown, of course, a great commenting duo right there. Again, voice of the Raiders. So we caught up with him, Kev, after the Raiders punched their ticket back to the NCAA tournament, and we have that coming up for you on the other side. I do want to give a shout out again to Brett Norris. He's the head coach, boys basketball coach at Hilliard Bradley over in Columbus. His 2 sons playing in the NCAA tournament this year. Again, Braden Norris at Loyola, and then Wright State's Keaton Norris. So I thought that was a pretty cool, when I found that out, of course, mentors who reached out to him. He came on the show earlier. We have that coming up for you around the corner as well. Good stuff. Don't go anywhere. More of the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash when we come back.
Stream, watch. It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash right here on Dayton's ESPN Radio.